considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff, even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm going to keep ticking. But no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave, but unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone. Let's all stop what we're doing right now and take a moment. That felt good, huh? Just like that, we had a nice special sort of moment together. Of course, they don't all need to be quiet moments to be special. They could be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. Sounds like somebody agrees. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Today, call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Music is a bridge between the material and the spiritual. My name is Harvey Lauer, and I'm 82. As a blind person, you have to be aware that nobody can tell you what you can or can't do. You really have to try things. My folks got me a little radio in 1940, and that was the best Christmas present I ever got. When I was 11 years old is when I started to play music, play the piano, and then the accordion, and then the cello. My wife, who was also blind, was a good cook. When she died, that's when I started Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
It's Meals on Wheels. 1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Seituha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu Karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safeacar.gov/the-right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I would be in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better, and kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor, because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Field! Number 70!
We're talking about practice.
Hello, you play to win the game.
The Yankees are champions of baseball.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
3, 2, 1, happy 2000!
No time on the clock, and the Patriots have won Super Bowl 36.
Jordan open. Chicago with the lead.
Worldwide Sports Radio Network presents Below the Mark.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Below the Mic. I'm your host, Errol Marks. My co-host, Mr. Speedy Petey. Remember, you can listen to our show every single Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. New York Eastern Time. You can call us at 631-500-0548. You can also go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app, iOS, WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Speedy Petey. What's going on, man?
10 PDs? Is that what we're gonna?
Well, I'm just trying to evaluate the name. So
evaluate.
Yes, I'm using very prestige words tonight.
Very advanced vocabulary.
Yes, unfortunately, I'm not an advanced vocabulary type of guy.
That's all right. It's all right. You're making improvements.
By the way, Jimmy Jardine says, "How am I feeling?" Well, if you haven't seen the pad under my neck, I'm doing just fine, Jimmy. I'll definitely need to talk to you and the guys from Weapons Hot after the show, but got a lot of things going, a lot of things in store for the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Really, since my surgery, I've been working on a lot of different things that is definitely going to make our network very, very good moving forward, a lot better than people expect. So definitely looking forward to that.
But speaking of green and Weapons Hot, happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Over the last couple of years, usually St. Patty's Day lands on a Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
Usually.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually get an opportunity to celebrate it. I do not drink. I am not a drinker, ladies and gentlemen. So I enjoy it with my friends. We go out to a bunch of bars. I watch them get drunk and get wasted. Try to pick up girls, which they never go home with any of them. And I'm the one who's the designated driver. So that's what usually happens when I go out with my friends. So
I brought a shamrock necklace today, but it didn't show up in the green screen. So
a shamrock necklace. I have one of my friends. Well, let me see that for a second. Let me see that. Oh, let's see.
It doesn't show in the green screen.
Do you think I could put this on? I'm going to try this. Hold on one second. Here we go.
The shape still shows up. All right.
Hold on. I'm going to take off the headset. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. I'm going to put this on over here. All for the St. Patty's Day greatness. I am going to wear the one and only. It's green, so it has like a black color in the green screen.
It doesn't show up in the green screen.
No,
it's like you have a portal inside of you.
Actually, Jimmy Jardine says a shout out. Yes, a shout out for Weapons Hot, CJ DeSimone, Kevin Jackson, and Jimmy Jardine. A very good show. If you guys haven't checked out the great football show that we have on Sundays, it's actually going to be moving to Fridays in the near future.
Actually, starting this week.
Is it this week?
Yep.
Oh, so you see, you know more than I do. So there you go. So they're going to be moving to Friday, and we're very excited about our network, and we have some new shows coming to our network moving forward. So definitely stay tuned. We have a hockey show possibly moving to our network, maybe 2 hockey shows moving to our network, and quite a few other shows. So definitely stay tuned for that. Speedy, we do this every single Wednesday.
Sports and entertainment news.
Here we go. Top stories of the day. Eagles could make a run for Texans Desean Watson. Well, I'm not surprised. They decided to part ways with Carson Wentz after trading away their whole draft stock for Carson Wentz maybe 5 years ago. They decided to give up on a quarterback that's only 27, 26 years old in the prime of their career. Figure that out with the Eagles, one of my favorite teams.
Yeah, the Eagles, I think, are only going to be able to get him if later in the process because they're going to have to trade a lot.
It's not going to happen. Here's what the Chicago Bears have to offer for Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson. How about the whole defensive line?
How about Kyle Fuller, too? You probably need that.
They're going to have to give up a lot. Yeah. They're going to have to give up a lot for a guy like Russell Wilson. Obviously, Mac being available. Some people have said that the Chicago Bears are willing to part ways with their pass rusher, Mac, for the right deal. And Russell Wilson might be good for the right deal. The Seattle Seahawks, they're looking for defensive players. Why not get one of the best pass rushers in the league?
Yeah, I'm curious of how much they're going to be able to push Khalil Mack, being how elite he is. Definitely from a realistic standpoint, Kyle Fuller would definitely be one to start with how bad the Seahawks corners are, too. That could be another option for them, and obviously they're going to have to go picks as well.
A.J. Green signs a contract with the Arizona Cardinals. It wasn't the Green Bay Packers. I know a lot of stories were coming out that he was going to Green Bay. Well, he kind of flip-flopped. Now he's going to play with arguably the best wide receiver in football in Hopkins. And to me, one of my favorite players, Kyler Murray.
Yeah, it seems like a trend for the Cardinals. They love to sign a lot of these ex-Bengals players. We saw Arians do it a lot when he was there, and Steve Keim, same GM. So they like a lot of the same processes, I guess.
NFL rumors and news. The Cardinals to acquire Rodney Hudson from the Raiders. Speedy, what do you think about that?
That's a great trade for them. They can move Mason Cole inside as a nice young offensive lineman. They can move him to guard. And Rodney Hudson, one of the best run-blocking centers in the league, which they really do need, especially with Kyler Murray there. They can do a lot more read options with him. They only had to give up a third-round pick, and they got a seventh back. That's a really good deal.
Are the Texans softening their stance on trading Desean Watson? And the answer is maybe. I mean, everything that's coming out, we're going to get into that in just a few moments. Desean Watson is being accused for sexual assault. And if that happens, there are going to be a lot of teams that are going to part ways on this Desean Watson trade. They're not going to trade away their team and their future for a guy that might be in trouble with the law. So I don't know if it's true, but we're definitely going to look into it more after sports and entertainment news. Panthers locked on Texans Desean Watson. I'm not surprised. The Panthers aren't going to get a top quarterback in this year's draft. Wilson and probably Fields will be off the board before the 8th pick unless they try to move up for that pick with the Atlanta Falcons or the New York Jets or even the Miami Dolphins. I don't see it happening.
So far, the Panthers have missed out on a lot of the defensive players they need to go after in free agency so far. So not looking good for their case of making it realistic to trade up for those quarterbacks.
Richard Sherman, free agency decision, moving on a slow motion. Why? Why? Because he's an older player, and I think the fact that the Jets are still sitting there looking for a corner, and there are other teams looking for a veteran corner to bring in, he's going to have his pick. I think the Cowboys are going to make a run for him. I don't know if the Cowboys are going to give him what he wants.
Watch out for the Raiders, too. Him being a Bay Area guy, he might want to go there.
NBA rumors and news. 5 superstars. The Boston Celtics did not land, even though they had a big chance. And one of them, a guy that we've been talking about, and you know who I'm talking about, the big man from the Cleveland Cavaliers, Speedy.
Mr. Andre Drummond.
They did not land him. I was very surprised. Thursday, trade deadline, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Danny Ainge, typical of what you're seeing, and that's why a lot of Celtics fans hate him ever since they tried to get the big move the last 4 years or so, and they still can't get it.
Miami Heat trade Myers Leonard to the Oklahoma City Thunder for Trevor Ariza. Great move. Great move. All around great defensive player in Trevor Ariza, a guy that can play defense really at 3 positions. The 3, the 2, and the 1. I think it was a great move by the Miami Heat.
Yep, notoriously good playoff player, too, in his career.
Former NBAer Bradley left paralyzed after being hit by a car. Sean Bradley, paralyzed.
Wow.
Big man Sean Bradley, played many, many years in the NBA for the Pacers. He's paralyzed. It's crazy. Wow. Absolutely crazy. LeBron James wants to own an NBA team. I've got so much to give to the game. What do you think about that, Speedy?
With all the money he has, it wouldn't surprise me at this point. You might as well buy the Cavaliers from Dan Gilbert at this rate, because Dan Gilbert's running that team in the ground.
I don't think Gilbert's going to actually sell him.
That's easier said than done, but
he's going to have a lot of money.
if LeBron wants to pursue it, that's where he's going to want to do it.
He is going to be the first NBA billionaire before he retires.
Yes.
So I do believe that LeBron James will make a run for an NBA team in the future. DeAndre Ayton role shrinks in light of Suns' short-term ambitions. What do you think about that?
Well, they're the 2 seed in the West, and I don't think even the Suns thought they were going to have those kinds of expectations at the beginning of the season. So, I mean, if his roles are currently limited, less minutes, it's working for them, for the team, go for it.
Mm-hmm. And MLB news, the Indians interested in extending Jose Ramirez. Why are they not extending him? This guy has been their best player on their team for the last couple of years, and it wasn't Lindor. It was absolutely Jose Ramirez. I'm surprised they haven't extended him.
Or Lindor's probably their best all-around player. Ramirez had the better season last year. He was an MVP candidate, and maybe that's why they're trying to figure out the money issues with that. Ramirez probably wants to maybe make it big on his last big contract because he's an older player. I think he's 30 now. So maybe that's where they're not seeing eye to eye.
Javier Baez, not in a rush to extend, willing to talk past opener. What do you think about that?
Well, the Cubs got to figure out what they're doing with this new GM.
They need to trade him.
This whole money situation. He might be the only guy they sign. Could that be a possibility? I don't know, but these Brian and Rizzo trade rumors too swirling in. How much is he going to want to stay there?
They need to trade him. They need to absolutely trade him. They're not going to re-sign him. And everything that the Cubs are trying to do, they're trying to rebuild. This is not a team that is expected to win anytime soon. And Rizzo will be gone probably by the end of this year. He'll be traded at the trade deadline as well.
The quote-unquote best first baseman in baseball, according to somebody.
Oh, that's Carl.
Yep.
Rays named Tyler Glasnow an opening day starter. What do you think about that, Speedy?
Makes sense. They lost their other 2 top pitchers, so not surprising.
NHL rumors and news. 5 potential trade destinations for the Sabres. Taylor Hall, one of them, the New York Islanders. I think the Islanders need an offensive player. Losing Anders Lee for a significant amount of time. They need an offensive player that they can put on the wing, maybe with a guy like Matthew Barzal, a guy that can put the puck in the net, a guy that really hasn't put the puck in the net since really his MVP season.
Yeah. He's been streaky everywhere he's gone, and really he's only had the 1.5 really good seasons if you look at his career path.
Mm-hmm. And last thing, 5 trade destinations for Calgary Flames forward Sam Bennett, a very good player. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
That might be something that the Islanders could explore as a center depth
24-year-old kid.
Yeah, he's probably a third-line guy. They'll move Pajot up to the second line with Lee's injury now. I think that could be something they could look at for sure. You could see in the Western Conference, you could definitely see some of the teams out west with maybe Vegas as a defensive option there. St. Louis offensive depth, you never know what they could bring with that kind of depth that they have. So it's definitely a good player. Flames, I don't know why they're trying to trade off pieces. They're actually playing well now. So I'm actually surprised they would be trading somebody, especially that young, putting him up on the market.
Yo. And that is sports and entertainment news. I tried to answer the phone because I thought it was a guest, and I was waiting for a special guest. He didn't answer, so there you go, unfortunately. But maybe we get another call back from that special guest. Anyways, I do want to get into this Desean Watson situation. And I know Jimmy Jardine, what did he say over there? Upload the video. What did he say over there?
I just uploaded a video on the Watson accusation with up-to-date facts. It says something fishy in Houston. Ooh.
Here's the thing, and I know a lot of people want Desean Watson. He was the hot topic name that's been out all over the news as far as teams looking for a quarterback. You talk about the Carolina Panthers. You're talking about the New York Jets. You're even talking about the Miami Dolphins. There's so many teams really being connected with Desean Watson. And now this story comes out maybe 5-6 hours ago about these sexual assault speculations. Now, I don't know what the truth is to this assault speculations, but Speedy, why don't you tell the fans what you read about the speculations, this story about this sexual assault speculation?
So there was apparently a massage therapist. Apparently she works from her home at the beginning of this pandemic. It's on March 30th of last year. So Desean Watson went to go get a massage on his back, and apparently there were some sexual assault allegations said by the woman of touching her inappropriately during that massage. And Desean Watson said he only wanted the massage she said that Desean Watson only wanted the massage allegedly because of a sexual reason, not just because of an injury reason, like he was a football player. That was apparently the intentions that he was giving in that particular massage therapist. And again, them moving that in the beginning of the pandemic is stupid enough as it is.
I don't know if this is true. And I know there's a lot of speculations with a guy that's a multimillionaire. He's worth now he got just $150 million contract by the Texans. And by the way, Jimmy Jardine is writing more stuff, so you can read that in just 1 second. But what's interesting about this story is we were talking about how many teams would be interested in Desean Watson. What are they willing to trade? Are teams willing to trade away draft stock, their future, to land a franchise quarterback of this magnitude? When you think of Desean Watson, his ability, especially on a Texan team that really didn't have any weapons last year, with all the injuries they had, Will Fuller was their best weapon that they had all season long. They had no running game. And you talk about a guy that led the league in yards thrown, yards per catch. I mean, everything that he did last year was phenomenal. Numbers would show you that he was arguably the best quarterback in the league last year, especially with the team that he had. And now this story comes out that could really affect his trade value. When you look at the New York Jets, where they have the number 2 pick, are the Jets willing still, if they're still interested in Desean Watson, to trade that number 2 pick, knowing that this could cost Desean Watson a suspension, maybe cost him a lot of money, maybe cost him jail time. So I don't know if this is going to affect his trade value.
Oh, definitely will. We saw with Antonio Brown too when he was getting traded, and then his gym instructor or trainer or something came out with those allegations. So it could be very similar. So going back to what Jimmy said, I did about 6 hours of research last night. All I will say, follow the money. Who stands to benefit if Watson is guilty of this? It's an interesting question. I mean, I don't know if anyone's really benefiting other than maybe just trying to get these allegations away, maybe besides the massage therapist, if she gets her wish as a court case. But I don't, in terms of a football standpoint, you just don't know at this point. Even Watson, who's a great quarterback, I mean, this could hurt his career.
Oh, this could absolutely hurt his career. I don't know if there's any truth to it. I would believe that Desean Watson will do everything to pay off whoever is speculating or saying these things. If it is true, he will pay him all. He will pay her off. Greg Hardy did it, and that's what kept him out of jail. And that's why Greg Hardy played at least 2 or 3 more years in the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys, and now he's a UFC fighter. So I do believe that any of these speculations do come out to be true. I do believe that one way or another, he will find a way to buy himself out of the trouble. But if you're a team right now and knowing that this story, and you investigate this story to be somewhat to be true, do you make this move? Do you make a move for a guy like Desean Watson, knowing that these speculations could be true and it will come out to be true one way or another? Now, me as an owner, I'm not an owner of a team. I'm one of the owners of this network. I would sit back and definitely take a step back and figure out what is true and what is false. But also knowing that this story is coming out, as an organization, as the New York Jets, an organization that's been a clown organization year in and year out every single year, do you see Joe Douglas doing something like this, knowing that this could throw him under the bus and maybe put his job at risk in the very near future, Speedy?
Yeah, Jimmy also says, I point to Ray Rice in 2014 when Baltimore voided his contract and saved $8 million against the cap. Right now, if guilty, Houston can void Watson's deal and save them $46.7 million over the cap for the next 3 years. Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, it's a good.
They're not going to do that.
It's a good analogy considering Rice was in the prime of his career at the time of his old domestic violence issue. But again, there's a big difference with a running back and a quarterback, though, too, when it comes to the money situation. And the Texans, again, they're going to be screwed either way, no matter what
they're screwed right now.
Yeah, and they're definitely, I think, the biggest losers in all this when it comes to
the Houston Texans.
Yeah, is because they had to trade him earlier in the process to get more, and now, being the teams are going to be skeptical now, I don't think he's going to get traded now before the draft. Like,
no,
a lot of people are thinking,
and they're not going to get as much.
They're definitely not going to get as much regardless. And I think now them waiting out with all these situations, there's going to be less teams involved in it anyway, because there's going to be the organizations that really investigate this whole case further. And like you were saying with Joe Douglas, he comes from the Ravens organization, which Ray Rice, I guess, was the incident with this, but I don't think he was there when
no, he wasn't.
I think he was with Philly at that time. So I think
he was just with Chicago when that happened.
Oh, he was Chicago. Okay.
Yes.
So he wasn't really involved in that process. So I think he stands for a little more of the classier side. Not that obviously the Ravens aren't a normally classy organization besides that, but that was really a bad look for them at the time. But still, they're going to have teams like that too. I mean, there's going to be certain teams that not care. So maybe they get lucky in one instance, but that's going to be hard to beat.
Oh, I think this is definitely going to affect his trade value. And again, as a Jet fan and all the Jet fans out there that want Deshaun Watson and want to make a move for Deshaun Watson, maybe you need to take a step back now and maybe decide, maybe if Sam Darnold isn't the guy, go into the draft and get the guy that you want, like a Zach Wilson or Justin Fields. Because all in all, when you look and you argue the points of who Deshaun Watson is and what Deshaun Watson is and what type of player he is, he's a fantastic player. There's no question that he is. But now you're going to you have to put an X around him, because you don't know if he's going to be playing in the season. You don't know if the NFL is going to suspend him for a significant amount of time. Even if he buys himself out of this, the NFL could suspend him for 4 or 5 games. That sets your team back if you're going to make a move for him. And then what are you going to do? You're going to start a backup quarterback? You might as well keep Sam Darnold then if you're going to make a move for Deshaun Watson. So I think that when you look at the Jets, and I know a lot of Jet fans really, really want Deshaun Watson because he's a sensational player. Now, as a fan, I don't know if I want Deshaun Watson, because obviously there's some truth to this story, because if there wasn't, this wouldn't have came out. It wouldn't have hit the airwaves. It would have been paid off and hidden. We've seen this many, many times in professional sports. We've seen it in basketball. We've seen it in baseball. And now we're seeing it in football. I could see somebody like Deshaun Watson paying off this lady to keep her mouth shut. But he obviously doesn't want to pay. And obviously, if you guys remember the whole Kobe Bryant situation, I would say about 10, 12 years ago, with the whole sex scandal when he slept with a woman that had sex with maybe 7 or 8 men at the same time in the same night, where they had how many Siemens on her underwear, and when he went to court and all that other stuff, he was going to go to jail. If that underwear wasn't found, Kobe Bryant would be in jail. So, and Kobe Bryant actually paid that girl to keep her mouth shut at the end of everything. So this story might have legs, but is Deshaun Watson going to take is this going to go to court? Is the Texans going to let this go to court? Especially when they know Deshaun Watson is a guy that they're going to have to move because they're going to lose a lot of value in him moving forward, knowing that this story came out.
Now, Jimmy also says the attorney for the accuser, yes, I forgot to mention this, he's a close personal friend of Cal McNair, which we know the tension that the McNair family had with Deshaun Watson and vice versa. So that maybe could lead us to believe that it's not a super truthful thing, but at the same time, it still has to matter. It's something if the woman also came out. And Jimmy also says Tyrod Taylor, now a Texan, all within 24 hours. Yeah, that leads me to believe some level of suspicion going on there, but they needed a backup regardless. They had to prepare regardless of whether this situation is true or not. That Deshaun Watson was going to get traded, they needed a guy. I guess Tyrod Taylor's that guy. But
it is a very, very interesting story. And as a Jet fan and as a fan of any of these teams that are going to be interesting, here's a team that I think will make a run for him no matter what: the Carolina Panthers. I think the Carolina Panthers will do anything in their any possible way to get Deshaun Watson. And they're not going to have to give up much to get Deshaun Watson. Being that they have the 8th pick, why not trade the 8th pick, their 2nd round pick, and maybe next year's 1st round and get Deshaun Watson? You're not getting 3 first-round draft picks knowing that this story came out. There's no way in hell. And as a Jet fan, I don't want Deshaun Watson now. I really don't. I don't want to put the Jets, because if there is some truth to this story, you know how many tabloids, you know how many speculations and stories are going to come out if the Jets sign him and he's going to have to deal with the media year in and year out for the next 2 or 3 years. I don't want to deal with this as a Jet fan, and it's going to affect his game too.
Here's the reason I don't know if Carolina is going to pursue it as hard now, because they're trying to also change their image in a sense too. Because remember, their owner had to be forced to sell the team because he did disgusting things to women too, and women employees, and he was forced to sell the team. David Tepper, now one of the richest owners in the NFL, bought the team. So I think they're trying to maybe change that image now. So I feel like they're going to also be another team that'll stay away from that whole thing now, just because that would be a bad PR look, especially for Carolina with what happened with Jerry Richardson and the gross things he did.
Jimmy says the lawyer approached Watson asking for a 6-figure settlement. Watson reportedly said no, and then all of a sudden they blow it up on Twitter. So, and we expected this. Watson doesn't want to do this because Watson thinks he's going to get himself out of this. But here's the problem. Watson could have just made this all go away for $100,000, a 6-figure, $1 million, even giving her $1 million. Give her $1 million and let her go away. You're making $140 million right now. Is that $1 million really going to affect you with all the endorsements you're going to get if you go to the Jets, or you go to the Carolina Panthers, or even if you go to the Miami Dolphins? You become the biggest star right now wherever you go, in whatever city you go to. So he should have taken that deal, and now it's going to throw him on the bus, and it's going to hurt the Texans now because he has a no trade clause, and now there's really nothing he could do. And now whatever team gives him the best offer, he's going to have to waive that no trade if he doesn't want to play for the Houston Texans. And he doesn't want to be there, Speedy.
Yeah, we already knew he wanted to be there. Now, again, with Watson's case, whatever money he's guaranteed is guaranteed with that Houston contract and whatever he got paid the first year, plus the signing bonus. But also, he might end up losing out on endorsement possibilities too if this breaks even further and more details come out. So that's not going to help. Obviously, he still has the money to pay off whoever if that's what the direction he goes in. But still, it's going to be a bad look either way.
This is a really, really bad story, especially for the NFL, because there's so many bright things happening right now in the NFL with the obviously now that free agency has opened up, all these signings. You talk about the Patriots practically buying every single player that was available. The New York Jets making the moves that they did, adding Lawson, adding the potential number one wide receiver that they added from the Tennessee Titans. I mean, you look at so many bright things that is going on right now in the NFL, and you have all these pro days. You got the you're going to have the opportunity to see Zach Wilson throw next week and Justin Fields throw the week after that. I mean, there's so many great things going on in the NFL, and now this story hits, and this is going to conquer the NFL. This is going to take over every single story that we're going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks, because now this is going to go to court. This is going to go through the whole process. Now the NFL is going to investigate it. You know, Roger Goodell's going to investigate it, and he's going to try to find any possible way to hide it and throw it under the rug, because you're talking about one of the most popular players right now in the NFL. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy when you hear a story like this. And by the way, Jimmy, I know his name is Corey Davis. I'm just trying to flow with it right now and just go through all the stories and the storylines right now with the NFL. But I look at Desean Watson right now as a fan of his. I've loved him since he came from Clemson, since he won the national title. I always thought that this kid was going to be something special. I still think, in my eyes, I think he's better. He's a better player than Patrick Mahomes. That's my opinion. And you're talking about an elite type of quarterback that became available this offseason, and all the Jet fans were smiling and happy and excited because the Jets were one of the teams that were out there interested in possibly making a move for him, especially with the draft stock that they have and having that extra first-round draft pick and the number 2 pick in the first round. A lot of people thought the team that had the best chance to get him is the New York Jets. Now you're hearing the stories. You heard the Broncos team and the 49ers. Those are the two teams he's very interested in going to. I don't know if any of these teams are going to be willing to give up a tremendous amount of draft stock, knowing that Desean Watson can get in a lot of trouble, and you're going to have to deal with the media coverage behind this. You're going to have to cover up on this media coverage, and that's something that the New York Jets do not want to deal with. And I'm telling you right now, a new coach, a new offensive coordinator, and a GM that's trying to put his stamp to this team, why would you want to bring in a quarterback that could really take over the tabloids for the New York Jets? Not even the moves that they made so far at the trade deadline, even the moves that they're going to make at the in the draft. Now you're going to have to worry about Desean Watson if you make this trade. How crazy of a move this is, and really could hurt the Jets moving forward in the next 3 or 4 years.
The Broncos, another team I would probably eliminate now because they're always been pretty well run. The 49ers you think of as maybe 3 years ago they might have done this because they didn't really care about off-field issues. They had a ton of players that had off-field issues. But, I mean, they're now trying to change, and they're trying to get younger, and we don't see them do as many drastic things like that, those types of gambles. So it's really limiting the market now. You always think of the teams that really don't care about those kinds of issues as being like the Cowboys and the Raiders, Washington to an extent, but now Washington just brought in their respective quarterbacks, so it doesn't seem like they're going to be in this splash. Not that Mitch Trubisky or Ryan Fitzpatrick would hold them back, but still, it seems like they're settled in on that, at least for the free agency process.
It would have to scare you as a Jet fan. It would have to scare you as any fan of any team that's interested in Desean Watson, because, again, Desean Watson, we were trying to compare and contrast what move would land Desean Watson. Now you don't know. You don't know what the Texans are going to get for Desean Watson, because, again, if this story becomes and it grows legs and it starts to move, this could really affect the Texans making a move, and even Desean Watson waiving his no trade clause and moving on to another team. Because if one of those teams that are interested in him are not interested in him anymore, and the teams that are interested in him are teams that he doesn't want to go to, it could affect a possible move with an unmarriage with Desean Watson with the Texans. And that means Desean Watson's going to have to prove himself another year with the Houston Texans with nothing. So, I mean, this is a terrible story for the NFL. And the NFL needs to figure out any possible way to cover this up. Hopefully, Zach Wilson's pro day really stands out, so it kind of hides this Desean Watson. But this is a terrible story. This is an absolutely terrible story. And Jimmy Jardine says what?
I'm not scared. Innocent until proven guilty. If he's guilty, he should be punished. If he's innocent, sign him immediately. Ooh. So extreme measures taken in the world of Jimmy Jardine.
Well, as a New York Jet fan, the New York Jets always like to throw themselves under the bus. They really do. They bring in players that don't make any sense and players that eventually cost them either a clown article from the Newsday or the Daily Post.
I think anyone they sign, there'll always be a clown article.
I mean, it's the Jets have been a clown organization for years, and I'm a Jet fan. And now you're talking about a guy who, yes, he's an elite quarterback. He's a sensational quarterback, and he's a quarterback that any Jet fan would want. But why? Why would you want to bring a guy in that has already now speculations of all these, sexual assault allegations, and now you have to give up your future in the next 2 or 3 years? You're talking about I was hearing stories that the Jets possibly had to give up 3 to 4 first-round draft picks, 1 second, and 2 starting defensive players. Would you give up 7 players for 1, knowing that this story came out and that could throw your team under the bus and your organization under the bus? And trust me, the Johnson family does not want this, as far as I'm concerned, on their backs. They don't.
No team's going to do that anymore. I mean, even the deepest teams in the league can't afford to do that. And again, with the risk that comes with it, yeah, that's not happening anymore.
So, as a fan, now all the fans out there, all the teams that are interested, give me some of the teams that would be interested in a guy like Desean Watson, Speedy.
So you got, like we mentioned, the Broncos, 49ers, the Panthers, the Jets, we've heard. I mean, I guess maybe the Seahawks if these Russell Wilson trade rumors are for real.
Nope.
You always got other teams in the bottom of the draft. Maybe Detroit.
The top 3. Give us the top 3. Miami, the Jets, and Carolina.
Miami's the obvious one too. Detroit, maybe if they. I mean, they're a team that doesn't care either. I mean, they could get a player with off the field issues at any point in time. We've seen them do that. Let's see, 13. Maybe the Raiders we've heard too.
I think the 3 top teams that have the most value to get him are the Jets, Miami, and Carolina. Okay, and the reason why I say Carolina is because Carolina would probably trade away 4 first-round draft picks to land a Desean Watson. I could see him, and I've heard even Christian McCaffrey involved with that trade too.
No, that was before all this came out.
I'm just saying they were willing to trade Christian McCaffrey, 4 first-round draft picks, and possibly a second or a third. Okay, so you're giving up all that draft stock now. Those are the 3 top teams that have the most or were willing to give up the most. Now, when you look at the Jets, are the Jets willing to give up 7 or more 6 prospects for a Desean Watson? The answer is no. Joe Douglas, you see the contracts that he's signing. He's signing no longer than 3-year contracts with all the players that he's brought in, which I've said that. I do not see Joe Douglas giving any of these players, any of the players on their team right now, even a Quinn Williams when he becomes a free agent, more than a 3-year deal, because he likes to know that he has wiggle room if he doesn't think that they fit, that he can waive them or release them and only cost them salary cap room for 1 year and then move on and move forward with free agency the next year after that. So I could see Joe Douglas completely taking a step back and saying, you know what, I'm just going to look at the draft. I'm going to go to the pro days for Trey Lance and Zach Wilson and obviously Fields and figure out who he thinks will fit the culture and fit this team moving forward if it isn't Sam Darnold, Speedy.
Yeah, it diminishes his trade value to the point where, because of the risk involved, he drops from obviously the top 5 quarterback that he is in terms of a trade value to kind of that middle tier. Obviously, we still know how talented he is, but still, you're going to drop it where nobody's going to be trading that point. There's no team that's that deep in order to do it, and the teams that are don't need quarterbacks. So that's going to make it very difficult between either the money or the roster construction that it is. So there's no way the Texans are going to get that anymore. The Texans probably at this point,
this is terrible.
Unless something else comes out that the allegations are false or Desean Watson wins a court case or anything like that. I don't think there's
Who cares if he wins the court case? If he wins the court case now, it's because of money. It's because of money. Because if the lawyer is reaching out to Desean Watson's lawyer and saying, listen, we want a 6-figure deal or we're going to take this to court, obviously there's some truth to the story because they must have information or proof that he did that.
Yeah, the timing of it though too, because of the way court cases are, and I know being they're in a pandemic now, they're even happening less often. So you're not going to be able to get those kinds of results right away. That's going to delay teams even more, which makes it harder for the Texans to get what they want in that kind of instance as well. So that's going to make it harder for any team, for the Texans to get multiple draft picks as it is, and also again all these defensive starters that they want, or these two first-round picks, two high-end first-round picks, and that's going to make it limit the teams for one, and number two, it's going to make it harder for teams that thought they had depth leeway to do that now that his value is kind of like that middle tier.
Well, here's a thing that the Jets need to do. Now they need to go to Chick-fil-A, okay? They got to buy a ton of chicken sandwiches and send it over there to the Houston Texans and make a trade with the Houston Texans. I'll give you a lifetime supply of Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich for a guy like Desean Watson. What do you think about that trade, Speedy?
I'll go 0-16 on the Texans for all that.
I do that if I was the New York Jets. I mean, you don't have to give up anything. You give up a lifetime supply of Chick-fil-A sandwiches, and you get a quarterback like Desean Watson. I think because to me, as a Jet fan, I don't want Desean Watson anymore. I'm honestly going to say this as a Jet fan. I'm not going to take a guy that now has stories behind him, and you're going to make a move and you're going to trade away a significant amount of draft stocks for a guy that you don't know if it's true. And if it does come out to be true in any type of way, it makes the Jets organization look bad. We've seen this year in and year out. How many times, if it's not the Cowboys, it's the Jets. If it's not the Jets, it's the Cowboys. We've seen this.
And the Raiders.
Oh, the Raiders. Or even the Baltimore Ravens over the years. I mean, we've seen this year in and year out. So many stupid moves that these organizations do. And right now, the Jets are moving forward. There's so many good things that we've seen with the Jets, and nailing a pass rusher. Finally, get a pass rusher of Carl Lawson ability. And a guy that we haven't seen of that strength and that talent since a guy like John Abraham. And at the age he is, at 25 years old. Yeah. And then adding a guy like Davis, another good pickup, Corey Davis, a good wide receiver who's going to fit very, very well like a glove in Mike LaFleur's type of offense. So right now, the Jets are looking on the way up, and now you're hearing this story come out. Why would they make a move like this? And yes, Desean Watson is a sensational player, but are you going to cost your team's future and throw your team under the bus year in and year out? That we've seen this team do it over and over and over again for a guy like Desean Watson, where this story is now hitting the airwaves. It's going to be the biggest story in sports for the next week, 2 weeks. And if it, like I said, if it grows legs, it could put the Jets in a situation where the Jets are going to be the laughingstock of the NFL again.
The Jets also have two scenarios though, where they may end up winning in this. One of which is it'll make the number 2 pick more valuable, because now these teams that are shying away from wanting to trade for Desean Watson might now say, all right, maybe we'll go attack the draft. We'll go get Zach Wilson. We'll go get Justin Fields. That'll make that number 2 pick even more valuable, where they may never have gotten that kind of trade in the first place. That's number one. And number two, if these allegations could continue further and they keep going on, the Jets maybe after the draft, or maybe even right before the draft, could get him without even having to trade the number 2 pick at that point.
What did Anthony LaRocca say over here?
Anthony LaRocca says it could be a smear campaign against Watson. Panarin had allegations against him. It was nothing more than a smear campaign. Give Watson the benefit of the doubt for now. Okay, but I mean, we didn't really give Panarin the benefit of the doubt either at the time. Now, obviously,
here's the thing about Panarin. Here's the story about Panarin. We all knew the Panarin story was a bogus story, because there was no money involved with it. There was no offers from any lawyers. There was nothing that came out. This has been going on for at least the last 48 to 72 hours. This has been going on for a while. And now all of a sudden, Watson he's not taking the deal. He's not giving them the 6 figures that they want. So now it's coming out in the open. So there has to be some truth to this story more than the Panarin story. I didn't believe the Panarin story from the beginning. I really didn't believe that story. I think it was all about the Russian dictatorship over there. They were trying to hurt him because he wasn't doing what they wanted, and he was trying to get his family out of Russia. That was really the Panarin story. This story, there's no Russian dictatorship. There's nothing. This happened here. There's no politics involved with this. This has everything to do with Desean Watson and being cheap. Because to me, if you have any thought that this is some truth to it, and I understand you have all the money in the world, and you can pay a lawyer, you can pay a bunch of lawyers to get yourself out of trouble. If there's any truth to this story, we're which there has to be if they're asking for a six digit money offer, and they're not taking it because if they didn't think it was if they didn't think it was real, or they didn't think they had any information, they wouldn't ask for that, Speedy.
Yeah, the truth will matter obviously more when more details come out, but it's still not a good initial look for this kind of situation. The other difference between the Watson and Panarin thing is the team situation. Now, the Rangers were not going to trade Panarin no matter what happened, whereas the Texans already have heard that Watson wants out, and he's been frustrated with the organization for the last 6 months and so. So that would be. Those are two different instances when it comes to those kinds of issues. Now, again, whether the Panarin thing gets more evidence later on is another question, and then the Rangers might have to deal with that later. But the Texans are going to have to deal with this directly right now, no matter what, because of those two instances.
Jimmy, I'm going to give you some information. Remember the whole Kobe Bryant thing? If anybody doesn't remember the whole Kobe Bryant thing and the rape accusations, Kobe Bryant didn't rape her, and that's why Kobe took it to court. And Kobe actually paid her off to keep some of the story quiet of what he did and how they met and the story behind it. He actually paid her off just to keep it out of the tabloids, the real story behind it. She actually didn't even go on the news. There was no interview with her. There was nothing. Nobody even knows who she really was. There was no interview, no 2020 interview with the whole Kobe Bryant. There was nothing. He paid her off and she disappeared after the court case and after he proved that he didn't rape her. Okay. And in the beginning, the story did come out is that he didn't want to pay her. And that's why it went to court. Okay. That's the truth. This story, this has been going on for at least 72 hours. The lawyers actually reached out to each other. And I understand the whole Watson thing. I believe that there's some truth to the story, because if there wasn't some truth to the story, it would have probably been thrown under the rug and completely disappeared. Watson doesn't want to pay, and you're right. Why would he want to pay? Fine, he doesn't want to pay. Does he want to go through this whole process? Does he want to lose the opportunity to go to the team that he wants to go to? The answer is no. So why couldn't he just, if he knew that he was completely innocent from this, he would have just, you know what I would have just said? I would have said, listen, I'll give you $100,000. Let's throw it under the rug and let's move on. He didn't even want to offer that. And to me, he thinks that he's going to get away with this. Now, I don't know if it's true. Again, I don't know if it's true, it's false. Again, I can't go back and forth to argue that. But there has to be some kind of truth if the lawyer is going over there and reaching out to the other lawyer and saying, listen, we want 6 digits and we'll throw it under the rug.
Yeah, Jimmy says, I know Kobe was innocent, but I believe those situations have incentivized people to keep throwing allegations simply to get a payday. Yeah, maybe. They
still got a payday.
Yeah, every case is going to be different with that. We've seen people pay off people, not even just famous people, just crimes in general, pay off people, blackmail, whatever. We've seen people do that, but again, every case is different, so there's no guarantee that he's innocent just on that, or he would be incentivized to pay her off just because of that either. Because even though Desean Watson has a big contract, it's still the first end of it, and he still, again, could get terminated, like you were saying earlier, with the Texans and what they could end up doing. So that whole case is very different. And like I was saying earlier, the urgency, because he's already wanting out, the urgency to trade him, kind of like Antonio Brown, he wanted out of the Steelers regardless, even before his old allegations came out. It's going to diminish the value. In comparison, I was too young to remember what happened with Kobe. I don't think Kobe wanted to be traded at that time.
No, he didn't.
Trying to move to Kobe. I don't think there was any kind of instances.
There was nothing.
So I think there end up being two separate cases in terms of the team circumstances. Obviously, the legal circumstances are going to be the same, and that's going to happen in any case, no matter if it's a famous person or not.
And Kobe obviously thought he was guilty because he bought his wife a beautiful, beautiful purple diamond ring that cost about, I think it was like $6 million or $5 million to try to keep his marriage together. So there had to be some kind of truth to it, and I'm sure there was. But Kobe got himself out of it because of money, and obviously he didn't rape her. I never thought that Kobe raped her. There was nothing. She was not innocent from that whole story, okay? But she never did any interview on 2020. We don't even know really who she was. I mean, there was pictures of her, but nobody really actually heard her story behind it because Kobe paid her off, okay? So now Desean Watson, you're talking about two very similar players, superstars in both sports. And no, Kobe didn't want to get traded at the time, but Kobe Bryant was as big a superstar as Desean Watson is. Yeah. Desean Watson he has a no trade clause. He wants to go where he wants to go. And he knows that a lot of teams are going to have to give up a tremendous amount of draft stock, a tremendous amount of players to get him and land him. So I think this is a story that's going to grow legs, and this could absolutely hurt Deshaun Watson getting traded this year.
It's going to hurt Deshaun Watson. It's going to hurt the Texans. And again, the long-term trajectory of his career, if more stuff ends up happening, it's going to be harder for him to get what he wants, either money-wise or even team-wise. I mean, he might be just stuck somewhere that says, all right, what the hell? We're not going to go anywhere anyway. We're already a bad look as it is kind of team, and you're not going to want to go there either.
And Jimmy says, if you keep feeding the stray cat will keep coming back to eat and come back for more. Here's the thing. If you feed the stray cat, that stray cat will disappear, especially a stray cat that just wants her payday and she wants to disappear. If you know that a lawyer is coming at you and asking you for a significant amount of money, there has to be some truth to it. Okay, so that's all I'm saying. I don't know if it's true, but I'm not a lawyer either. But I've heard stories like this, and usually when a lawyer is trying to come under the rug and trying to get some money and trying to keep it out of the tabloids, there has to be some kind of truth to it. And I think that because Deshaun Watson is the player that he is, the superstar player that he is, and he's an NFL superstar quarterback, he thinks he's going to get away with it. That's what I think.
And Jimmy, we're not denying that these people, whoever's involved in the case, are not going to try to take advantage of Watson's wealth because he has the big contract, whether it's the massage therapist, whether it's the lawyer, whether it's anyone else involved in this case. We're not denying that, but that still doesn't make it doable for Watson in terms of trying to resolve his own issues. And even from a personal standpoint and from a football standpoint, it's still going to be diminished either way in terms of what ends up happening. Now, if the court proves he doesn't do it, that's a whole different case.
Listen, Jimmy, you might be right. Maybe they're just out there for a payday. Maybe you're right. But why would they be out for a payday if they have reached out to Deshaun Watson and his lawyer really quietly and trying to negotiate a deal so this doesn't come out in public? Because I'm sure she doesn't want her name being brought up into the tabloids. She doesn't want to hurt her career or hurt herself on possibly have to being interviewed and all that other stuff. I think she wanted to keep this quiet, just like the whole Brett Favre thing. Look what happened with Brett Favre. Everybody knows the whole story. The reporter, when he was playing for the New York Jets, he was sending private part pictures. And what did Brett Favre do? He paid her. I don't know how much, but the story went away. And I think if Brett Favre did it, why can't Deshaun Watson do it? I think that, and this story would have never came out, and I would have wanted him for the Jets. I don't want him for the Jets now, but I want to go to a quick break. We're going to go to a quick 1-minute break. When we come back, we are going to get into the NFL free agency market. The New England Patriots made more than one move in the last 3 days, and I'm going to tell you why the New England Patriots are begging. And I'm going to get into that. Begging. Yeah, begging for another championship. And when we come back, I'm going to get into that, talking a little NFL football here on Below the Mic.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Seituha Karate. Located at 28 Cold Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu Karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
As you guys know, this is Below the Mic. I'm your host, Errol Marks. My co-host, Mr. Tidy Whitey himself, Speedy Petey. Oh, man, crazy things going on in sports. Happy St. Paddy's Day to all the fans out there. I'm trying to heal up. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to entertain you guys for the next hour. Definitely been in a lot of pain, guys. It's been absolutely painful. I don't wish this upon anybody. With the surgery that I had, disc replacement, I have stitches right onto this patch right over here. And it just, every time I talk, it feels like it's tearing, it's ripping. And I can't tell you how many times I've wondered and I've been scared that to take this patch off to see if the stitches have opened up. So I'm happy to be here. I'm definitely happy to entertain you guys. As you guys know, you can call us at 631-500-0548 is the number to call us right now. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Download our app. Go to iOS, WWSRN, or Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Now I want to get into the NFL free agency market, and everybody was looking forward to this, and it happened. It really happened right with the blink of an eye. You talk about teams that really stuck out like a sore thumb in the first day of free agency, and one of the teams that I would have never would have thought to stand out and stand out to be one of the teams that were going to make as many moves as they have, and that's the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick has made, I think, about 7 or 8 moves in free agency so far, and they're not outrageous moves. They're crazy. The reason why I think they stand out to be crazy is some of the moves and some of the players that he's brought in, he overpaid for. And Speedy, we were talking about the wide receivers that he brought in, Aguilar, who is a guy that I really liked with the Philadelphia Eagles over the years, and then I think he played for the Oakland Raiders.
He was nice last year for the Raiders. It still concerns me for his track record of what he is. Remember, he was a first round pick that was kind of skeptical of being a first round pick with when Chip Kelly was there in 2014. Not a lot of people would have taken him where they did, and I think his career trajectory so far, outside of the playoff run, he did play well in the Super Bowl. He did play well in that playoff run. But beyond that, he's had a lot of drop problems, very inconsistent. A lot of Eagle fans hated him the way the Jets fans hated Robbie Anderson with the pot hands type thing. Like, it was kind of that similar trajectory. He went to the Raiders last year, played well, but still very, very overpaid in my opinion.
So, Speedy, let's go through some of the players that have new homes. Let's go through the New England Patriots, some of the moves the New England Patriots have made, and let's grade them, each player that they have brought in, and let's argue our points on why we think they're a good fit for the New England Patriots and why they're a bad fit for the New England Patriots.
So we'll start with the 2 tight ends, which is that's the trend in the league, as many people have mentioned. Jonnu Smith got 4 years, $50 million, which I think is fine. I think he's pretty durable throughout his career. He's a good blocker, and he's been a solid receiving tight end. I would say he's a top 10 tight end. He's still young. I like that move for him. And then Hunter Henry, who both of us have been skeptical of with the injuries.
Josh's favorite player.
Josh's favorite player. He plays like 5 games
probably
a year.
Having a heart attack right now that he went to the Patriots and not the Jets.
Yeah, 3 years, $37.5 million.
Too much money.
Which I think is a little too much money. I don't think it's a terrible contract.
It's terrible contract. The guy can't stay on the field.
I'm surprised they went after that when they needed more with other areas when they already got Jonnu Smith. That's the reason why it was kind of strange to me. I don't think the money is awful. I don't think it's great. But again, the Patriots need a little more with their pass rush. They got Matt Judon, who we're going to get to in just a bit, but they still need a little more with their pass rush. And the receivers, like, they could use a better guy than what they got. Aguilar's a slot guy, a decent slot guy, okay. And then Kendrick Bourne was the other one, 3 years, $27 million. They're paying $9 million to a guy that was barely a number 3 receiver on a 49ers team that, granted, Brandon Ayuk had a nice year, but beyond that, really, they didn't have much with receivers. So they didn't really get that going, in my opinion. Judon, the contract, I don't think was bad. A lot
of Patriot fans did not like the Judon move,
which I'm surprised at, because he's very similar to what they usually end up getting. They love to get hybrids. They love to get guys that are very scheme versatile, can play many different roles. You know, the do your job type system. They have a secret game plan. And Judon's a very scheme versatile guy, big guy. 6'3", 6'4", about 270, and he could play in many different roles. So I'm surprised a lot of Patriots fans didn't like that. I actually think that was a pretty good deal for him. And he's not really just a raw pass rusher either. He could drop back in the flats, can guard the screens, and he's been good in many different roles. So I actually think that was a good deal. I don't like the receivers though. The other one I think was a center, Ted Karras, which I think he replaces David Andrews, who's a free agent now, who that should be someone the Jets should look at after falling back on Lindsley. But that's not bad, but the receivers, that just made no sense.
No, and I think bringing in 7 free agents and spending almost, I think, an average of $56 or $57 million. Right. And listen, bringing in 7 players for $57 million, you would think that it stands out and it's a good move for the New England Patriots. You're getting 7 players for $57 million. It's just the players that they brought in. A lot of the players they brought in doesn't make any sense. And Hunter, I like Hunter. He's a good player. He played for the Chargers all these years, and a lot of Jet fans wanted him for the New York Jets as a tight end. The guy can't stay on the field. And to me, giving him the money that they gave him, 3 years, $36 million for a tight end that can't stay on the field. Last year only played 10 games or
I think less
9
than
games?
that. I think it's like 6 games. He played
And the year before that, he only played 11 or 12 games. So the guy can't stay on the field. Would I give him a contract like that? No. Now, if he stays on the field and he plays 16 games, which he hasn't done for the last 2 years, it's a good move. But again, this guy has never proven to me that he can stay healthy. And Judon, he's a great player. I wanted him for the Jets. I think they overpaid for Judon. I really do. Thinking that you give him a 4-year deal worth about $47 million. He's a scheme type of player. I don't know if he fits the scheme of the New England Patriots. Maybe he does. I think you think that he does.
I think he does.
I don't. I don't think. I think he fit more with the Jets, even though he's come from a 3-4 defense. I think putting him on the outside of a 4-3 defense, I think it would have opened and it would have made him a better player, especially with a dominant player like Quentin Williams in the middle of the field. I look at, and I know what you're going to say, the Baltimore Ravens are a good defensive team. They've been a good defensive team for the last couple of years. But here's the thing. Baltimore Ravens, the last season and second half of the season, their front seven did not play well. And their secondary played well in the second half of the season, and they didn't play well in the first half of the season because of injury. So I think making a move like Judon is definitely an iffy move. And listen, I think they're last year with all the injuries and on all the players that decide to not play for COVID-19, it affected the New England Patriots move into the playoffs and possibly a run into the playoffs. But I think this year you're still bringing Cam Newton back. You're bringing practically the same team back with the COVID-19 players that missed the season. I think they added great value to their offensive line in Brown and obviously some of the players that they're going to be bringing back from the COVID-19 situation. So their offensive line will be better. So maybe Cam Newton will play better. But the wide receivers that they brought in, they're not electrifying wide receivers. And you overpaid them. And you also overpaid these tight ends that I think, Smith is a good player. He's a nice player. Hunter's a good player. He's a nice player. Again, you're overpaying for players that played well in those respectable seasons on those respectable teams with better teams and better offensive lines to a New England Patriot team this is not the same offensive line last year. This might be a better offensive line, but we have to see what this offensive line is going to do with the players that they have.
Yeah, I think the biggest reason, I don't really hate the money that Henry got. I think the biggest reason is his injuries and also the fact that the Patriots drafted a bunch of rookie tight ends last year, and all of a sudden you're going to make those draft picks look bad now that they're never going to play. So you're really defeating the purpose of trying to develop those guys. And we've seen tight ends, even obviously they had Gronk to help him out at times, and obviously the guy that shot somebody before that all happened. But even guys before that, Ben Watson, Ben Coates, guys like that have helped other tight ends develop in that system. So I don't know why they need to necessarily go for 2 of the flashy names. Jonnu Smith on its own is just fine, and then let one of those other rookies develop and spend that money elsewhere on maybe a higher end receiver, or like I said, a higher end pass rusher to complement with Judon, or another scheme versatile type linebacker, something like that where they can improve in other areas rather than trying to overload just the tight ends.
I want to go through the AFC East first. Emanuel Sanders goes to the Buffalo Bills, agreed to a 1-year deal contract with the Buffalo Bills. Great move by the Buffalo Bills, putting him on the other side to one of the best wide receivers in the league last year. A dominant wide receiver I'm not a big fan of.
We know.
But Emanuel Sanders played very, very well last year. And he's played very well everywhere he's gone, from the Broncos to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This has been a very good value player, and paying him a 1-year deal worth, what was it, $3-4 million?
Money's undisclosed right now.
Yeah, it's probably around $3-4 million. You're not going to have to overpay for a veteran player of that magnitude. That's going to help a guy like Josh Allen out, and they still have their offensive coordinator coming back again next year because he didn't get a job. So I think this is going to make them only a better team. A guy that you really like, Daryl Williams, agreeing to a 3-year deal, offensive tackle, $28 million, $14 million guaranteed. This was a great move for them.
A tackle getting $9 million. I mean, I wouldn't say he's an elite tackle. He's an above average tackle.
You liked him.
Yeah, he's above average tackle getting $9 million only. I mean, the Jets paid more for George Font.
Yep, and obviously linebacker Matt Milano.
I wanted for the Giants really badly.
Yeah, Milano, who got a very good contract too. 4 years, $41 million, only $21 million guaranteed. If he doesn't fit the scheme in the first 2 years, you can part ways with him. So I think believe it or not, under the stories that we've heard from the Patriots and the Jets in their division, where everybody expected them to make a splash, I think the Buffalo Bills made just as big a splash as the Jets and the Patriots.
The Bills need one thing, and I think it seems like what everybody needs is that's the edge rushers. If they can make one big splash with the edge rushers, whether it's in a trade, maybe they go get Shaq Lawson back from the Texans if he doesn't want to be there, or maybe they sign a veteran guy just to help out some of their young players, because that was the one issue their defense had last year, and it was a big reason their defense dropped off from the number 2, number 3 defense they were in 2019.
Miami Dolphins add Jacoby Brissett as a backup quarterback. I think this is a great move by them. Now, obviously, they didn't bring back Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick believes he still could be a starting quarterback in the league, and I think he's going to go to a team where he's going to have the opportunity to win that quarterback job.
Washington. Already.
Yeah, which is Washington. So, and he's probably going to win the job over there. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is still playing in the league. You saw what he did with Miami, and Miami trusted him more than Tua. So I wouldn't be so surprised if Tua has a bad start of the season. Jacoby Brissett gets the position and gets the job and runs with the job, because he's still a young quarterback, and he's still a quite capable quarterback to win close games in the NFL, especially in the AFC East. Yep, Malcolm Brown going to a running back, going to the Miami Dolphins. I think this was a good move. You only give him a 1 year, $1.75 million contract. That's a good move. Pankey, the offensive tackle, going over there. Adam re-signing over there. Isaiah Wilson. Adam Butler. I really liked it. It was a very good signing. And Justin Coleman, also, I think a very good signing by them. 1 year, $2.75 million contract. Nothing that really stood out like the Buffalo Bills or the New England Patriots or the New York Jets, but still quality moves for the Miami Dolphins that really don't need much to win.
Now, they did get rid of Van Noy, which will hurt a little bit, but they replaced him with Benardrick McKinney. Different type of linebacker, but still a good linebacker. Coleman, the only thing that worries about me is since he's left the Patriots, he's had his issues. But Brian Flores, a lot of players do. Similar type of defense, and obviously we saw what Flores did, bringing a lot of ex-Patriots.
And then the New York Jets, re-signing Josh Adams. I think they were going to do that. Josh Adams is really a third or fourth option at running back position. If he makes the team after preseason, that would be a good move for the Jets. Corey Davis was a good move by the Jets. Signing him to a 3 year, $37.5 million contract. One of the best red zone wide receivers in the league.
Solid 2.
Yeah, he's a solid 2, and they're still looking for a number 1. But I still believe the Jets believe Denzel Mims is going to be a number 1 type of player. So if he plays a full season and they actually give him the ball more than they gave him with Adam Gase, I think we're going to see a lot of electrifying catches from a young, very capable wide receiver for the New York Jets. Carl Lawson, I believe, was one of the best pass rushers in the free agency market, a guy that I thought the Bengals were going to re-sign. I don't understand why.
Yeah, they essentially just replaced him with Trey Hendricks. That gave Trey Hendricks 1 more year.
He's better than Trey Hendricks.
I think he's better. I think he's better in terms of his track record of his career. Well,
Trey Hendrickson had 13.5 sacks, but he also played for the Saints and a better defensive line. Carl Lawson played with nobody and played on a team that really had a bunch of old defensive linemen in their secondary. I mean, he made a lot of plays behind the line of scrimmage, especially hitting the quarterback. He hit the quarterback more, I think, 4th in the league. He was ranked 4th in the league as far as pass rushers. So
his grade, I think his PFF grade was in the top 10 among edge rushers, exclusively edge rushers, even though he only had the 5.5 sacks. And I think it's just a difference. The Bengals, I think, they have enough speed rushing types, or I think they wanted more of the power rushing type like Hendrickson is. Lawson's he's powerful for his size. He's a little more of the speed rushing type, though, which we've seen Saleh's system do a lot better with outside of D Ford, who that was a bad trade. But Lawson, a nice deal for the Jets for sure, and definitely the edge rusher they needed.
I think, believe it or not, a lot of Jet fans like this move. Jared Davis. I know a lot of people say, who the hell is Jared Davis? Coming from a team like the Lions, and a team that really has not played well defensively for years. And you add somebody like Jared Davis, who's a young player who could fit Saleh's defense. And we've seen a lot of players go to Saleh's defense and become superstars, great players. He could be a quality player for the New York Jets, Speedy.
He's going to be more of a depth piece for a linebacker.
How do you know that? Because they're talking about possibly moving C.J. Mosley before the season. So that might not be true.
Okay, if that's the case, maybe that ends up being the case. But again, I wouldn't bank on it with the way the Jets roster currently is constructed, just because one, he's been an injury-prone player throughout his career. He's really only a great run tackler. He's not really much else, and he's been more of a 3-4 guy in his career in Patricia's defense, and really had a lot of trouble there. So I don't know how much you're going to bank on that. He might be again just a depth piece. Decent run stopping, a 4-3 type guy, but that's really it.
I don't believe it. If you're signing a guy, a linebacker, a 1-year, $7 million contract, he's not going to be a depth piece. They're going to use him. He's going to fit in that type of offense, that type of defense that they're going to try to run. He's a guy that can get at the quarterback. I would be very surprised if he's just a depth piece when he was the first guy they signed. So I don't believe that. By the way, Jimmy Jardine says, thoughts on OBJ. What is that? Cryptic tweet saying take 2. I don't know what that means. I don't know what he was trying to say. I didn't even read his tweet because I don't even pay attention to what Odell Beckham does. So I don't know what that means. Maybe he's talking about the New York Giants, going back to the New York Giants, taking 2.
I don't know.
I have no idea what he meant by
I don't
take 2.
think he's going back to the Giants, even though it would make a little bit of sense because his value is pretty low because he got hurt. But
and Carl says Andy Blank.
That's what I was laughing at.
Why are you laughing at it?
Because the Bears are in all these trade rumors, and then they have to settle for Andy Dalton.
Well, Andy Dalton's still a good quarterback. I think that the fact that he played for the Cowboys, and I know a lot of people don't like him. Andy Dalton, in the last, I've said that, in his career as an NFL starting quarterback, he wasn't an elite quarterback. He was a second-tier type of quarterback, and his numbers show that he was a pretty damn good quarterback. Now, going to the Bears, I don't know if they're done with as far as the quarterback move. I could still see them going after Desean Watson. I think Andy Dalton's really a piece that they can protect themselves if they can't land a Desean Watson, because we all know that Nick Foles is probably not coming back this year, and we know Mitchell Trubisky's not coming back. So they had to bring somebody in. And Andy Dalton, I'm not saying Andy Dalton's a superstar player. Andy Dalton's a good piece that could be a backup quarterback, a good second backup quarterback, or you can bring him in if you don't land a Desean Watson, you don't land a quarterback in the draft, on making him your starter. I think he's definitely a decent piece. He's better than the quarterback play that they had last year.
Okay, but how much better is the question? And also, even when Dalton was in his prime, he was, 1, had some good help, and 2, was streaky in a sense where he played well. He was like player of the month in some months, and then he would just fall off a cliff. And obviously, we saw what he did in the playoffs. Not entirely his fault, but I mean, if Chicago wants to make that next step and win a playoff game, I mean, is there Andy Dalton really the guy you want?
AFC North, Kevin Zietler agrees to a 3-year deal, $22 million, $16 million guaranteed to the Baltimore. Great move by Baltimore. Of course,
yeah,
the
Giants,
rich get richer for the AFC North. Tyus Bowser. I don't know much about Tyus, but I'm sure you know a little bit about him.
He's a similar, he's a lesser type of Judon, kind of similar where he could do a little bit of everything, but he's more of a depth piece, kind of average. Like, he's not super dominant in one area.
Re-signing Derek Wolfe was a good move by them. I think Derek Wolfe, even though he was injury, if you don't know who Derek Wolfe is, he came from the Broncos, the Super Bowl champion Broncos, a guy that really hasn't stayed healthy for the last couple of years. I think he's still a good piece. He's still a good player, and I think it's a good defensive line player that the Baltimore Ravens have kept.
Yep, especially with all the injuries they had on the interior last year. That's not bad for really 4 years.
The Cincinnati Bengals add quarterback Brandon Allen. Not a big deal. Trey Hendrickson was a good move by them. I think they overpaid for him.
I don't think it's that bad.
What are you kidding me? You gave him $32 million. He's had really one good year that stood out for $13.5 million. Besides that, 13.5 sacks. Besides that season, what has he done?
Yeah, but they also front loaded the contract while they have the money now, and they have a lot of money. We did the salary cap rankings last week. They were 6th in that. So I think that them giving to that, where they're going to have to pay Burrow at some point if he develops the way they have, or they're going to have to pay many other players to help another franchise quarterback if Burrow doesn't recover from the injury. So I think it's good that they front loaded that. The years, I think, is more of him peaking now the last 2 years, because he really has played well the last 2 years. He just really didn't have a shot in the third and fourth guy on the depth chart for a while with the Saints. So I don't really put that on him. It's just the Saints roster.
You got to read this, Speedy. People are actually writing things, and I expect you to read it off to me. So go ahead.
So Carl says too much in incentives for Dalton for them to trade for Watson. Yeah, okay. We'll have to see with the way Watson changes. And Jimmy says, Dalton in Chicago is better what they had the last 5-10 years. I'm not denying that, but I'm just saying how much better is it? Is he really that much more of an upgrade over Jay Cutler arm talent wise? I don't know about that.
We don't know what a guy like Andy Dalton's going to do with the team over there with the players that they have. There's still Robinson there. Their offensive line's horrendous, and but so are the Cowboys. And the Cowboys
the Bears are worse than the Cowboys. Though.
Oh, I still think that defense is capable of winning games for them, and if they do believe they're going to keep Khalil Mack and that defense together, they're still a very, very dangerous team. What is Jimmy saying over there?
Oh, only $3 million incentives for Dalton. Okay, yeah. Again, we're not saying it's a bad money contract. I'm just saying that's what you're eventually settling for. I wouldn't expect like a big leap from Chicago just because of that.
A Woozy going to the Bengals. What do you think about that move?
It's not bad money-wise. I worry about him as a player. He's more of a number 2 type corner. They lost William Jackson, so they really don't have the number 1 type corner. This comes after losing 2 corners in the previous offseason, so they're really trying to replenish that position. They're hoping these guys will work. They also brought in Mike Hilton, 4 years, 24, was an okay slot corner, but again, they really don't have a number 1 right now.
The Cleveland Browns, Malcolm Smith. I think that was a good move by them, re-signing him. John Johnson signing him to a 3-year, 33.75. I don't understand. Why can't you just give him a 34 or $33 million contract? Why do they have to add the 0.75? I don't understand.
Everyone's salary cap is different.
$24 million guaranteed.
That seems like a little much for John Johnson, though. He's kind of an average safety. And they had safeties that played well last year, so I'm surprised they went after that.
The Pittsburgh Steelers not making as many moves as we thought they were going to do.
Yeah, they're very
Ray McLeod, obviously agreeing and re-signing a 1-year deal. Wide receiver, they don't really need.
Special teamer.
Offensive tackle Zach Banner re-signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and B.J. Finney signed a 1-year deal as an offensive line depth player for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So AFC South, Speedy, go ahead.
Oh, the Houston Texans. Oh, yes, this should be fun. Christian Kirksey, actually not a bad signing, 1 year, 4.5. But, I mean, beyond that, it's a lot of these guys used to be good, but not great. Tyrod Taylor, like we mentioned earlier, 1 year, $5.5 million deal. Mark Ingram, 1 year, $3 million.
I think it was a good movie. A good move. It is a good movie.
Yeah, it's
a good move.
It's a good movie if you're trying to have a tragedy with the Texans.
Well, they have a tragedy right now with Desean Watson.
Yeah, Andre Roberts, good special teams guy. Pharaoh Brown, blocking tight end, okay. Marcus Cannon inquired in a deal with the Patriots. Not bad, but he really hasn't been good in a while. The rest have really been depth pieces. Shaq Lawson, they swapped for McKinney, like we mentioned earlier. Derek Rivers, depth piece. Vernon Hargraves, not great. Carl says, what are the Lions doing? Just re-signing players who were average for them? Yeah, pretty much. Nobody said the Lions were smart, Carl.
Well, if you look at the Texans, they made a lot of moves that really don't stand out. There's nobody on this list besides Shaq Lawson, which I'm very surprised. They acquired in a trade from the Miami Dolphins. I don't understand why the Miami Dolphins traded Shaq Lawson, because I still think he's quite a capable, good player, and he's a player that can get at the quarterback.
The only thing I can think of maybe is they're trying to save a roster spot with the money they have for another pass rusher. And I think McKinney as a middle linebacker is better at his position than Lawson is. So that would be my guess. Now, again, they might lose out on that kind of case. There may be a reason they cut Van Noy for McKinney. Maybe they think he fits more. But also, again, you have to hit on these other pass rushers too, which we see 2 of them, the 2 young ones already gone, and as well as Judon.
Well, Indianapolis really haven't made any moves besides the Carson Wentz trade, which was a great move by them, because now they solidified their quarterback position. With that offensive line, they're going to be one of the favorites to come out of the AFC. And Marlon Mack, who I really, really like, I didn't think he was going to go back, especially with the depth that they have at the running back position. But they brought Marlon Mack back for a 1 year, $2 million contract. I think it was a great move.
Yeah, buying into Reich. It's a great move for the team, and I guess she trusts the system. But again, like we were saying, the Colts are always that team that they have a lot of money in the start of free agency, and they never really do anything. So will they actually do something finally?
The Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, we expected them to make a lot of moves, and boy, did they ever. Carlos Hyde, what I think will absolutely fit like a glove in an Urban Meyer offense, agreed to a 2 year, $6 million contract, a very good move. Philip Dorsett, another guy, a wide receiver, came from the New England Patriots, has come from Indianapolis, a guy that can more of a slot wide receiver, a speedy guy on the outside. I think he's going to fit very, very well in an Urban Meyer offense. Cam Robinson, which they franchise tagged him, offensive tackle, very, very good player. I was very surprised that they have not re-signed this kid, especially the age that he is and the player, the offensive line depth that they don't have. Yeah. I was very surprised that they just franchised him.
I think they will eventually once they try to figure out how many other players are going to be able to sign in this free agency. I don't think Robinson has an issue with the Jaguars, especially with them having the number 1 pick now and still having a decent amount of offensive talent. Now, there's one rumor I heard that was very weird. They're looking to shop for Ravens right tackle Orlando Brown, and they're going to try to trade away DJ Chark. But I don't think their line is that bad where they really need that. They drafted Juwan Taylor in 2019, a nice second-round pick. They still have Norwell and Linder, who are nice on the inside. So that's kind of weird that they would want to trade the receiving depth, especially with Lawrence probably coming.
And by the way, Carl says the Colts need a wide receiver.
Yeah.
I think Pittman, having his second year with the Carson Wentz, I think Pittman's going to be a number 1. I think he's a very talented player, big, long, strong, can jump very, very high. I think he was the steal in his second round when the Indianapolis Colts really moved up to get him because they knew that if they didn't move up to get him, the Jets were going to, they were going to creep up and get him as well. So I think that Pittman is going to be a number 1. I just think, they need another wide receiver. They don't need a superstar wide receiver. They just need another weapon.
And they're another team that needs an edge rusher.
The big move for the Jacksonville Jaguars was Shaquille Griffin, where everybody thought that the Jets were interested in getting him from Seattle. Very, very surprised that Griffin decided to sign with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
That looks like a bad contract. 3 years, 44.5. That's a lot of money for a guy that had a really bad year last year. And really, outside of 2019, has really been more of a number 2 type corner. That's low end number 1 type money that they gave him. So that's really shocking.
How about Rashawn Jenkins, get the safety, getting a 4-year, $35 million contract?
He played well at times, so I guess that's okay. But it's still, I wouldn't trust that going forward. They still need a lot more on defense.
Now, Tennessee lost a lot of players in free agency. They really did. I think it's definitely going to, out of all these teams that we talk about that might affect them moving forward, especially this season with all the free agents that they have lost, it's the Tennessee Titans. They lost a significant amount of players. They added Anthony, what's his name?
Firkser. He's a number 2 tight end type. I guess to be number 1 with no Jonnu Smith now.
Is there any player on this list that really stands out to you?
I think the worst contract that has been given so far. They really badly overpaid Dupree in my opinion. 5 years, $85 million. Jeez, that's like almost 20 a year for a guy that's more of a number 2 type pass rusher. Yeah, he fits a 3-4 defense okay, but he's been injury prone. He hasn't.
Their defense was terrible last year.
That's what it cries out to me. It looked like a panic move to me. They just had to get somebody.
I would have went after Jadeveon Clowney again. I would have done that.
Either that or just try something cheaper. You need multiple.
Clowney, I'm surprised Clowney is still available. I think he wants a lot of money, and I think watch out. And I'm telling you this not because I'm a Jet fan. As long as Jadeveon Clowney is still on this list of free agents, don't be surprised if the Jets come up and try to swoop him. And I think they quite possibly could do that for a 1 or 2 year deal. They're not giving him more than a 3-year deal. We've seen what Joe Douglas is willing to do and what he's willing to spend. I think the Jets can get Jadeveon Clowney for $11 million a year and give him maybe $15, $17 million guarantee. I think that would definitely seal the deal for a guy like Jadeveon Clowney in a 4-3 defense. On the other side over there with Carl Lawson and in the middle, Quint Williams, that would be a scary defense. Really is. The Broncos nearly didn't do anything. What is anything? I knew they were going to agree to terms with Ronald Darby.
That was a nice deal.
They needed him. They absolutely. But is there anything on this list that really stands out to you?
Yeah, really. That's the only thing so far is Darby. I think they still need a little more on defense, whether they get an outside rusher or maybe interior help because they did well stopping the run, but they had a lot of trouble with interior pass rush. Their offense, I think, is okay, where they don't really need much, maybe some offensive line, but obviously they're in their quarterback rumors, but they don't have to necessarily get a quarterback. So far they're just staying patient. I think they're going for the smart contracts.
In Kansas City signing Kyle Long. I mean, this is his last chance to possibly win a Super Bowl. His brother won a Super Bowl. His father won a Super Bowl. And now he's getting the opportunity to go play with arguably the best quarterback in the league, arguably one of the best offensive minds in football, and Andy Reid, and the offensive weapons that they have. And Joe Thuney, which everybody thought was the best player in free agency, me being one of them, but overpaying him 5 years, $80 million after losing their 2 starting left tackle. I mean, 2 starting tackles. I think this is a bad move by the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep, you're better off keeping Schwartz for slightly less money, and he's a better player. Nice try.
What do you think about the Raiders? Is anything? John Brown signing with them was a good move by them. 1 year, $3.75 million contract. I thought that was a guy that I thought the Jets should have went after.
Yeah, good boomer bust player. He's just injury prone, but speedy guy that has pretty good hands for his size, and again, good physicality. I always liked him. I always liked him in Arizona, but again, they made a big splash with Ngakwe. I think 2 year, 26. Good deal. That's a really good deal for only $13 a year for a very well-rounded pass rusher. They really need that number 1 type pass rusher, and I think he's a nice scheme fit with what John Gruden's new coordinator. I forget.
They also got Richie Incognito for cheap. I mean, 1 year, $2.62 million, and John Gruden loves Richie Incognito.
I still would have rather had them keep Gabe Jackson, their original guy, but I guess it's not bad as a fallback option.
And also, they brought in Solomon Thomas, who really failed over there. I was surprised that Solomon Thomas didn't go to the Jets. I think knowing that his defensive coordinator is over there and maybe getting more of a chance to actually succeed over there in the middle of the field with a guy like Quinn Williams would have made him a better player with a more talented, faster, bigger, stronger Quinn Williams. Maybe that would have changed everybody's thought of Solomon Thomas, especially being the high draft pick that he was, and really what John Lynch really struck out on. So I'm very surprised that the Jets weren't very interested on a guy like Solomon Thomas. The Chargers, anything that stands out on this list?
Well, the big splash we were talking about on Monday was Lindsley. I know you said he was overpaid. I don't think it was terrible for what the Chargers need with the offensive line, because they lost Mike Pouncey. He retired along with his brother in Pittsburgh, and their offensive line has a lot of injury-prone players on it. So they don't really need much where I think they could have afforded to give him. Was he slightly overpaid? Maybe, but I don't think it was bad for them. Like, I think if some other teams would have done it, maybe you would have looked bad, but it's a nice move for the Chargers.
NFC East, Dak Prescott signing a $160 million contract with the Cowboys. Big move, important move for the Dallas Cowboys. They needed their star quarterback. They got him. CJ Godwin, or whatever. Goodwin.
Yep.
I don't know much about Goodwin, but what do you think about that move?
Depth piece at corner.
That's why I don't know much about
decent. He's a Dan Quinn guy. He was with the Falcons for a little while. He was their 3rd or 4th corner. I thought he played well in the Super, and for some reason he never played when Brian Poole was just god awful. And I'm surprised he didn't play more in that game. But
your New York Giants, Devontae Booker. I think 2 years, $6 million. I think that's a lot of money.
For a backup running back, that's fine. I can live with that.
Really?
I always liked Devontae Booker. His
John Ross,
skill set,
a guy that really has failed. One of the fastest guys. We've seen him at the combine. Everybody thought this guy was going to be a star. He moved up for a 2nd round draft into a 1st round.
I don't think anyone really thought he was going to be a star for where he was drafted. I mean, it was just a combine star that all of a sudden boosted him to being a borderline first pick, and then all of a sudden the Bengals shock everyone, took him 9th overall for whatever.
Now let me ask you this question. Now that the Giants they franchised Leonard Williams and then signed him to a long-term deal, do the Jets get their 4th round pick? Move from the 5th to the 4th?
The Jets will get their 4th round pick now because they ended up, but between the impact he made, they'll get the 4th round pick now this year. I think the Giants gained another compensation pick, if I remember correctly, this year. So they'll end up making up for it in that respect. But the Jets will now have the Giants number 11 in the 4th round if it's their own pick.
Yes. Washington football team, Ryan Fitzpatrick agrees to a 1 year, $10 million contract. Great move by the Washington football team, being that they're in a division that they can absolutely win. They're an up-and-coming defensive team. They were sensational in the second half of the season. I was very impressed with their defense, and they're just lack of offensive weapons. They need wide receiving help. I expect him to draft a wide receiver this year, especially with some of the depth in the 2nd and 3rd round in the draft this year for the NFL. I expect him to get a big-time wide receiver. But Lamar Miller can't stay healthy. Right. And Brandon Sheriff, I think
to do that.
You have to, because there were a lot of teams interested in Brandon Sheriff, the Jets being one of them.
Great move with William Jackson, too. 3 years, $40.5 million. I think he's a much better corner than Griffin, and Griffin got more money. So that was actually a pretty good value. He might not even need to be a number 1 because Kendall Fuller played very well over there as the number 1 type guy last year. So they could probably platoon on who shadows the number 1 receiver based on game plan. But I think he's more of a fit for what Ron Rivera has normally liked with Carolina, because I think he's very similar to what he had with James Bradbury. And a lot of the corners, they had more physical type corners, physical zone.
NFL North, the Chicago Bears and Andy Dalton to a 1 year, $10 million deal. $13 million with incentives. I don't think that's a bad move. It isn't, because you need to solidify your quarterback position if you can't get in a guy like a Desean Watson or whoever becomes available in the draft, and maybe you move up in the draft with the Jets or whoever. You move up with the Atlanta Falcons or somebody like that where you can get a Justin Fields. So I don't think that was a bad move by the Chicago Bears. Allen Robinson was imperative, important. I do believe that they're going to trade Allen Robinson before the season starts. Anything stands out to you, Speedy?
Not really. Edwards is a depth piece. He's a nice player, interior, but really nothing else for the Bears. I mean, they're cash strapped win. We know that.
The Detroit Lions, Jared
also
Goff,
cash strapped.
Jared Goff, obviously that trade, adding Jared Goff, trading him for Matthew Stafford, Jamal Williams. Anything stands out on this list? Josh Hill, tight end. Nothing.
Brockers is not bad for the value, but again, it's still not
they acquired him in a trade with the
Rams.
Rams.
The Rams. It's not bad, but again, they still need a lot more. They need edge rushing help badly. They need linebacker. They need a lot of different things, and they definitely need wide receivers.
What is he saying? That doesn't solidify anything, Errol. I'm saying it solidifies their backup quarterback position. Now, if they can't land a quarterback of Deshaun Watson's stature or a Russell Wilson, where you're hearing stories that Russell Wilson is interested in going to the Bears, well, it's a good piece. It's better than Nick Foles. It's better than Mitchell Trubisky. So I still think it's a better piece than what they had. So again, it doesn't solidify their position, but it still gives them something better than what they had.
Carl, to answer your other question, Van Noy hasn't been signed yet. He was asking that.
The Green Bay Packers, I'm very surprised the Packers have not made a move for a wide receiver. I know they're going to go after a wide receiver in this year's draft. They need to help Aaron Rodgers out. Aaron Jones re-signing for a 4-year, $48 million contract, a guy that did not show up in the playoffs. He didn't show up in the playoffs. I think this was a bad move by the Green Bay Packers.
They don't develop running backs well. This is the most well-rounded one they've had in a long time.
I know that's what you say, but I just don't like the move.
It's fine for what it is. I think
$50 million for a running back that's not even, to me, a top 5 running back in the league.
He's a top 10 running back, though.
Yeah, he is, but I don't think he's a top 5. And
I think it's fine.
You're talking about $50 million. Who's making more money than him right now?
This is a team that doesn't need much. I think they
Ezekiel Elliott?
I think they really needed to land this one for a position they don't develop well. They really only need interior defensive line and maybe some receiving depth. But if they don't get those things, maybe you could look at that. But I still don't think they need much.
Minnesota Vikings.
Nothing special here. They bring in ex-Giant Dalvin Tomlinson. They don't really need him. They have a lot of depth with defensive tackles. And all the people saying the Giants made a mistake letting him go, I never got that either. They have Lawrence, and then they re-signed Williams. Even Austin Watson played well for them last year. They didn't really need Tomlinson.
The NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons. Very surprised the Falcons have not made any moves. They made a trade for tight end Lee Smith. Yeah, well, why don't you release players? Why don't you drop some players and evaluate with your new coach what your team is moving forward? Maybe you trade Matt Ryan at the trade deadline. I mean, before the draft. Yeah. Maybe doing that. Maybe trading him to San Francisco and giving San Francisco the quarterback they're looking for, and add up 2 first-round draft picks, or maybe a future second and first-round draft pick. I don't know. Maybe doing something like that. They're rebuilding. The Atlanta Falcons are rebuilding. They're not going to be a team to be reckoned with this coming season.
They're kind of stuck in the middle right now. They have some talent, but they just don't have a lot of other holes, especially on the defensive side. I could see Atlanta trying to go for bargain pass rushers at this point. Maybe they're the ones who go after maybe a Dunlap-Griffin combo, because they're still a 4-3 defense. So that could be the only shot they have at really maybe saying somewhat competitive, because the Bucs are obviously the Super Bowl champions. The Saints, even though they don't know what they're doing with their quarterback, they're still very good, and we know how much money Carolina has to spend.
Speaking of Carolina, did you like anything Carolina did?
Yeah, 2 linebackers. Those are 2 nice moves. 2 different types. I think it'll complement each other well. Perriman's a good coverage type guy, not really a great run stopper, but good coverage type guy, and Reddick, good pass rushing type guy. The only thing that concerns me, he's more of a 3-4 guy in a 4-3 defense, but he's still better than a lot of the other guys out there in free agency. They still need some pass rush help, though, too, to go alongside Brian Burns.
I mean, the Saints losing a Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees. They had to re-sign somebody. Well, they signed somebody.
Your boy. Jameis
Winston. And I'm very surprised that they gave Jameis Winston that contract. Him and Hill are they're terrible. I think the fact that this is a playoff team, a Super Bowl contending team, I'm very surprised that we haven't heard any stories about Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, or even trying to move up to get a quarterback that can really solidify them moving forward this year. They're a win now team. I think this is going to really hurt them moving forward.
Yeah, they're going to have a lot of trouble in terms of making that big splash at quarterback. Maybe they're going to hope that one of them pans out this year, or maybe they may get the splash in the draft. Who knows?
And they're going to have to.
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers adding franchising Chris Godwin. We expected that.
Yep.
Rob Gronkowski signing that $8 million, $10 million with incentives. I'm not surprised. Anything stands out on this list?
Well, they kept their own players.
That's
what Super Bowl championship teams do usually. So
I
good
think
job on their part.
They're going to be a different team next year. I really do. So, by the way, Carl says over here, read it, Speedy.
Bears are shopping Anthony Miller. Why? Especially if they're going to get rid of Robinson, because he isn't that good. He really played well against the Lions and nobody else. I would trust Darnell Mooney as a young receiver going forward over Miller.
NFC West, to me, the team that has made the most moves and the best moves this offseason, the Arizona Cardinals. A.J. Green signs a one-year deal. Great move. Bringing A.J. Green on the other side over there with Hopkins. Kelvin Beachum, who is really a fill-in, a guy that's going to fill into that offensive line, a veteran player. Rodney Hudson.
Great move.
Great move by them. Center, who is going to solidify their offensive line. Marcus Golden.
Nice deal.
Re-signing him. He after coming from the New York Giants, played very well on the defensive side of the ball. J.J. Watt, another great move, bringing in a pass rusher of that magnitude, putting him on the other side of Chandler Jones. Tanner Vallejo, another
special
good player.
teams guy.
I think they've made the most quality moves this offseason, and watch out for Arizona. I think they're going to be a very scary team. The Los Angeles Rams, Speedy.
Yeah, so far they're just cash strapped as it is. We know they traded for Stafford. We already argued that. And Leonard Floyd, they got back. I mean, they're having trouble really just getting back over the cap. They traded Brockers as a result. They had to do that. And so we didn't expect much from them.
The San Francisco 49ers.
Ayushik stays alive.
I am very surprised. And they gave him a big-time deal for a fullback, a 5-year, $27 million contract. I did hear that the Jets were very interested in landing him. I think that's why they definitely jumped forward and gave him the money that they want. Trent Williams.
That was shocking.
That's crazy. They gave him a lot of money.
They gave him a lot of years.
And a veteran
for a 31-year-old player.
For a guy can't stay healthy either.
6 years is a lot.
I mean, he's a great player.
Yeah, he played very well for them last year, but 6 years for an injury-prone 31-year-old tackle, John Lynch. Again, he's going to be over-aggressive at times.
Any other players that stand out to you?
Bringing Verrett back on a good contract, 1 year, $5.5 million. He's a nice player when he's healthy. He's just, again, very, very injury-prone.
And the Seattle Seahawks, Speedy.
Now, there's only one move that was really any decent. Their nose tackle. They
lost players too.
Yeah,
they lost a lot of players.
They're going to have a lot of trouble. They're going to have to really draft well in order to do that, and that's going to be hard when they don't have a first-round pick.
Well, they don't have a first-round pick for the next 2 years. Yeah. And Jamal Adams, who is going to be a free agent next year, they could franchise him. He is not going to be happy if he gets franchised by the Seattle Seahawks if they don't re-sign him this year.
Yeah.
And just think now. Jamal Adams was sitting back. He wanted to be traded from the Jets. He thought the Jets were going nowhere. The franchise was in a state of flux, and he just didn't want to be there. He was crying to his daddy, hiding in his room, complaining to his papa. And now all of a sudden he's playing for a Seahawks team that the quarterback doesn't want to be there anymore. Right. They've lost so many different pieces. They lost their starting cornerback. They've lost starting offensive linemen, even though their offensive line stinks. They've lost defensive players in every single category, which is one of the worst defensive teams in the league. Yeah, so
they've been living on winning weird for a while, and now it's going to hurt them.
Ask me this question: him going to Seattle, are they much better than the Jets now?
No,
I mean
really.
The Jets are set up,
especially in the division they're in.
I mean the Jets are set up very, very well, and right now the Seattle Seahawks are set up to fail, and even with Russell Wilson. And there's a reason why Russell Wilson wants out of there. He knows that this team is not going anywhere. He wants to win another Super Bowl in the next 3 or 4 years. He knows he's not going to win it with this team.
How much further can they just aim with winning weird and trying to just hit on these late draft picks and hoping that works in this kind of division with the 49ers, who are great when they're healthy? Arizona, who had a great draft. Now both said they had a great offseason. So all of a sudden, you're looking at that with the Rams, who are already talented as it is. How much further can you go just this kind of route? They're just going to have a whole just philosophy change in the way they're thinking. And it's going to be hard without the draft picks. They're just going to have to hope that they could draft well.
Well, I want to get into the NBA because we have a very little bit more time left. So I want to get into the NBA. And obviously the trade deadline is right here. And when is the trade deadline, by the way? I think it's next week.
I think it's next week.
It's next Thursday. And so far, there's really nothing that's really stood out in any moves. Now, the Heat acquire Ariza. I think that was a fantastic move by the Miami Heat. I think the Miami Heat are one player away from being NBA championship competitive team. Now, Bradley Beal would fit like a glove over there, Speedy. He would fit like a glove over there. But what would they give up to get a Bradley Beal?
It has to start with Hero. I mean, it's the most replaceable player for what Beal is, the great shooter that Hero is. Obviously, Beal's a better shooter, but better player. But still, that's where all trade talks are going to start if that's where they're going to go.
I mean, Sean Bradley getting paralyzed, but is there any player that stands out right now that people are talking about that could be traded, that could really solidify a team to be an NBA champion?
Kyle Lowry is an interesting name because a lot of teams need point guards. They want the veteran leadership. He's won a championship. Obviously, he struggled in the playoffs before that, but he won a championship and was big in that NBA Finals, matched up with the Warriors backcourt. Even though, obviously, Klay Thompson got hurt in Game 5, he still had to play against him most of the time. Obviously, Steph Curry playing against him most of the time, and he outplayed those guys for much of that series. So that's good veteran leadership that even if he doesn't play to that same level, he's still going to matter in terms of getting those other stars to play well on certain teams. We've heard the Sixers being the biggest name for them, but again, he can help out a lot of different guys.
Carl is saying this. Speedy, you have to read that.
Lauri Markkanen with the posterizing throwdown last night. I did not see it, but a very good young player for Chicago. And your Bulls have been playing very well, Carl. They're hanging tough. I think they're right now the first team out in the playoffs right now because I think Atlanta surpassed them in the standings. They play well with Nate McMillan now as their head coach, which I said would happen because he should have never been fired from the Pacers. That was a very strange thing. But Carl also referring to what you were referring to Josh on Monday night. Randall getting hosed the other night, getting calls for a travel.
Oh,
yeah, that was
God,
a terrible call. Terrible call.
Absolutely terrible. And he had every right to be upset, the referee. And the referee ran out off the court after the game. I'm not saying the NBA have to. They should investigate.
Do we have another Tim Donaghy case?
They have to investigate. That was a horrendous call.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, what do you made the shot? We never know, but at least make the right call, please.
So before we go, you ready to go through our brackets?
Oh yeah.
All right. So guys, we're gonna go through our brackets. Speedy, are you ready?
I am ready.
Let's go.
All right, so we'll start in the region that you've been picking on this team a lot on the weekend crunch. Gonzaga against Norfolk Appalachian State. I mean, obviously you expect them to win this game, I would imagine.
Yes, I got Gonzaga.
What do you think the ceiling is for them, though?
I think they're Elite Eights. That's where I think they go.
All right.
I think they get eliminated in Elite Eights.
All right, Oklahoma and Missouri. I have Missouri in this one. This could go either way, and Oklahoma just lost one of their best players in Harmon as well.
I got Missouri in the game as well.
All right, Creighton, number 5 against UCSB. I actually have the upset in this one with UCSB. What are you thinking?
I got Creighton.
You got Creighton?
I got Creighton. I think that they're a very big team and a very good rebounding team, and they can shoot.
So you're not worried. You're not worried at all what happened to their coach?
No,
that whole thing. All right, Virginia. I hope they lose, but I don't see them losing.
I got Virginia in the game.
All right, USC. This is interesting because I think Drake can make some noise if they win against USC. USC is a good team, one of the best prospects in the nation in Evan Mosley, but they don't shoot free throws well.
I got USC in the game.
All right, Kansas. I think they could lose. I really do.
I got Kansas in the game. I think they're going to lose in the next round, but
I do so. Yeah.
Yeah. I have USC beating Kansas.
Oregon. They're watch out for Oregon. They're one of my sleepers. I think they definitely destroy VCU.
A lot of people like VCU and VCU with the coach and everything like that. And they have some good players. They do have NBA players. Maybe not obviously top draft picks, but they have players that can make the NBA. But I got Oregon in the game.
And then Iowa against Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon, their first team in a while, but I got Iowa as well. You want to continue this region? You want to go to somewhere else?
Let's go to the South region.
All right, Baylor. I think they're vulnerable. This is my 16-1 upset. I think it happens. I really do.
I got Baylor in the game.
All right, your two favorite teams, North Carolina and Wisconsin.
I got Wisconsin in the game.
I did so. This one I could see as an upset. I like Winthrop over Villanova.
I got Villanova. They're one of the best defensive teams in the nation.
Purdue, I got them over North Texas.
I got Purdue too.
Texas Tech, Utah State. This is interesting. I love this whole block. I like Texas Tech slightly, but these go either way.
I think Utah State with the upset.
Ooh. All right, Arkansas, number 3 seed against Colgate, who we interviewed their coach back in June.
Yes,
I
like Arkansas.
I like Arkansas too. I wish Colgate was on the other side of the region because I could actually see them upset Kansas or Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like either one of these teams. I'll take Florida over Virginia Tech.
I got Florida too.
Ohio State, I think they're vulnerable. I think they survive here, though.
Yeah, they're going to survive. Ohio State. Yep.
All right. So Michigan, now injury riddled with no Isaiah Livers against Mount St. Mary's or Texas. I think we'll stick with Michigan on
I
this
got
one.
Michigan on that one.
LSU against St. Bonaventure. I like LSU as a big sleeper.
I got LSU.
Yes, Carl, I am picking Baylor. I think this is a weird year of a 16-1 upset, and Baylor's, I think, the most vulnerable, being a bad tournament team. Colorado, Georgetown. This is an interesting one.
Georgetown.
I think Georgetown keeps. If they win this, they keep it going for another round. It could be hard to get the momentum going. This is an upset I could see. I know everyone loves Florida State. I don't really get it. They lost a lot of players in the offseason. They got really one nice freshman. I'm taking the upset here.
I got Florida State.
All right, BYU against Michigan State, UCLA. I have BYU, but Michigan State, if they do win, can be pesky.
If Michigan State wins, I take Michigan State. If they don't, I got BYU.
Okay. All right, Texas, I have them. Abilene Christian's a good team, but I'll take Texas here.
I got Texas in the game.
UConn over Maryland for me.
Maryland.
You like Maryland? Wow.
I got Maryland in the game.
Considering all they lost last year, they're surprised they got in. Alabama, I have over Iona.
That's one of my upsets.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I have Alabama over Iona.
Alabama, yep.
Illinois over Drexel. Now, this is interesting. I like Loyola in this one. Illinois and Loyola could be an interesting game, though, in-state rivalry type thing. I'll take Loyola over Georgia Tech, though, this round.
I seen Georgia Tech play one time this year. I haven't seen Loyola. And Loyola, they've been a pesky team in the tournament.
And they're actually a better offensive team than the Final Four team they made.
I'll go with Loyola.
Tennessee and Oregon State. I'm not crazy about either team.
Tennessee.
I'll take Tennessee with the experience for now. This is interesting, though, because I think Liberty's a very good team, too. I think the winner of this game will beat Tennessee. I'm going to take the upset here with Liberty. I know Oklahoma State's a good team, and they got one of the best players, if not the best player in the country, Kate Cunningham.
I got Oklahoma State.
All righty. San Diego State and Syracuse. This is interesting, too. I have San Diego State.
I got San Diego State in the game, even though I'm a Syracuse fan.
All right, West Virginia, Morehead State. I think West Virginia blows them out
West
here.
Virginia.
I think Rutgers upsets Clemson here.
Got Clemson in the game.
Really? They're actually one of the worst offensive teams in the
I know.
nation. Houston, I think, will destroy Cleveland.
I got Houston, too.
All right, let's go Gonzaga, Missouri. I'll take Gonzaga here.
I got Gonzaga over there, yep.
I don't want to pick Virginia, but I'm going to have to here.
I got Virginia in the game.
I think USC in your scenario would beat Kansas, and like I said, I think Drake would too.
I got USC.
I have Oregon over Iowa.
I got Iowa.
They're pesky. They're a pesky bunch. I have Wisconsin either way in this game. You pick Baylor. I
got Baylor, yep.
Of course you're picking against Wisconsin now. I think Purdue would beat Villanova in your scenario.
I got Villanova.
Really? Even with all the injuries they've had?
Yep.
That would be quite a coaching job. I have Arkansas. This could go either way.
I'm going to say upset Utah State.
All right, you're right, Utah State. I can see that happening. I have Florida in this case.
Ohio State.
Ooh, all righty. So we're disagreeing a lot, but this is what March Madness is. All right, this is interesting. Michigan and LSU.
Michigan.
If Michigan get Livers back, I think they'll win. Otherwise, I got LSU.
All right.
Georgetown, I think they'll ride the momentum if they win, or if Colorado wins, I think they have the beating.
I got Florida State winning the game.
Wow. A lot of people are high on Florida State. I really don't get it. All right, on BYU and Texas, I would think BYU here.
I got BYU.
And I have Alabama.
And I got Alabama.
All right, this is interesting. I picked Illinois, but I could see this going either way.
I got Illinois.
I can see if you pick the upset.
I got Illinois.
I think Oklahoma State in your scenario.
I'm going to go with an upset. Tennessee.
Wow, you're trusting Tennessee. It's a notoriously bad tournament team.
Yeah.
This is interesting, too. San Diego State and West Virginia. I would take West Virginia. It was so close for me to pick.
West Virginia.
And then Clemson and Houston. I think Houston will blow them out.
Yes, I got Houston on that one, too.
All right, that leaves us with Gonzaga and Virginia. I'm going to pick Gonzaga just because I can't pick Virginia at this point.
I got Gonzaga in this one.
All right, then we have USC and Iowa.
I got Iowa.
I have a completely different scenario. I actually have Oregon in this spot, pulling off the upset. Now, do you think Iowa beats Gonzaga at this point?
Yes.
All right, because I have the actually reverse thing with Oregon beating Gonzaga in that point. They're my sleeper, 7-seed Final Four.
I got Baylor.
Yeah, you and I are very different there. So you think Baylor continues? And then in your scenario, I'd probably take Utah State because I'm not crazy about Ohio State.
I have Ohio State.
All right. And then we have Michigan and Florida State, which is very different than what I have. I have LSU making it to that point over
I got
Colorado.
Florida. I got Michigan.
If Michigan gets healthy at that point, I'm going to agree with you. And then Alabama. And then Illinois and Tennessee, I think Illinois.
Illinois.
And I got West Virginia.
And I got West Virginia.
All right, I would have Michigan over Alabama if that's the scenario that does happen. I still think their injuries will cost them. So I still have Alabama in the Final Four along with Oregon. And you had Iowa, you said?
I have Iowa, and I have...
You have Baylor, Ohio State. I have Arkansas in that region.
I have Baylor in that game.
All righty. And then you have Michigan or Alabama. I have Alabama in that
I have
region.
Alabama.
And then I have West Virginia over Illinois.
And I have West Virginia.
All right, so we agreed on 2 Final Four teams. West Virginia, Oregon is my championship, just so you know. So I think Alabama would beat Iowa. I don't know what's your thoughts.
I have Iowa.
Okay.
And I have Baylor.
All right. And who is your national champion?
I don't know. I'm thinking, guys. I'm thinking. Oh.
That's an interesting matchup inside that they got with Vital and Garza, 2 of the best big men in the nation.
I got Baylor.
You got Baylor. So you went Baylor over Iowa with Alabama and West Virginia in the Final Four. I went with Alabama as well and West Virginia in the Final Four with Oregon as a sleeper 7 seed and Arkansas in the Final Four, even though that region is very tough. And West Virginia is my pick to win it all. I think Bob Huggins, a very good coach for a while, with a much more well-rounded team, will get it done finally.
Look at you, man. Bob Huggins.
Yeah.
Interesting bracket, man.
Yeah, they're not the same. They're not the same Press Virginia that they used to be. They're a little more well-rounded than that. And I mentioned that on Weekend Crunch, and I think they can bring the press back at any time and surprise people.
By the way, Carl says you guys better tape this segment all over the place.
Well, yeah, we have different brackets. That's going to happen.
Carl says Illinois versus Gonzaga.
All right, Carl, who do you have winning in that case? Because, you got the pressure of Gonzaga with the undefeated season, too. Does Illinois get it done or does Gonzaga get the miracle run? And they only the second undefeated season in the modern college basketball era, if that's the case. So I'm curious.
Usually the number 1 seed doesn't usually win the national championship. But I something tells me this is Baylor's year. And I think even though they have not played well in the last couple of weeks, I still think Baylor has enough defense and enough offense to win.
So you have them as your national champion. Yes. I have them out early. So that's what March Madness is. It's crazy.
It is. And anything could happen with March Madness. So I do believe Baylor's going to win. And I think Iowa State, a lot of people, I mean, Iowa State, a lot of people pick Iowa to win the whole thing. Josh picked Iowa to win the whole thing. I think.
Okay. I see. It's interesting. They're the best team, I think, in terms of the least pressure in that region. I just think there's one weird region always with each tournament, and I think that one is the vulnerable one. Carl says Michigan will lose to Florida State. Why is everyone high on Florida State? This is very interesting. They're so young. I don't know. I don't really see it. I think if it's Colorado or it's Georgetown in that next round, even if they survive the first round, Georgetown's hot, so I think they keep it going for one more, and Colorado, I think, is a better team.
It's going to be interesting because this year, out of all the years of March Madness, last year would have been even more interesting.
I know.
That would have been a fun March Madness to watch, especially with Duke and you had Kentucky, you had all these teams Dayton, Dayton and all these great players, Obi Toppin playing for Dayton. I think it would have been really
State
fun.
Was a 1 seed.
It would have been really, and Baylor was a very good team.
Baylor was, I think, the second best team after Gonzaga.
And now this year, Baylor has a very good team and has a lot of depth, but they haven't played well in the second half. I think they're going to figure things out. I think they have a very good coach, and I think they're very good offensively. I think they're going to be able to run the bracket and get over there to the Final Four and win the national championship.
Carl says they only lost 1 player. No, they lost 3. Only one of them got drafted into the NBA, but they still lost 2 other players that were seniors last year with Trent Forrest and Terrence Mann. His brother now plays for, I think it's Florida in Trey Mann, but it's still a lot of pressure to put on a kid in Scotty Barnes. Leonard Hamilton's a good coach, but I just worry about this kind of young team. They've been pesky this year. They could win a round. I just don't see them going much further. I definitely don't see them upsetting Michigan if that's the matchup, because I think if Michigan gets healthy in the Sweet 16, they will be dangerous. I just don't know if they will be able to get healthy to get past the team.
So
like
what do you
LSU.
got the score to be if it's your team? Iowa versus Baylor.
I think my score pick was 81-77 West Virginia.
I say 98-95.
Wow, that could be the highest scoring game in national championship history if that's the one that happens. And there's only one team that scored 100 points, which did it to your Duke Blue Devils and UNLV.
Yes, I remember that, and don't mention that to me.
Yeah, which there was still one of the most impressive games and impressive runs we've seen.
I have 98-95 Baylor winning the national championship.
Baylor, Iowa. All righty. Very interesting.
It's
Disagree
going
a
to
lot.
be.
But
Yes.
that's March Madness.
But anything can happen, and a lot of people have Michigan going the whole way. If they can get
If
healthy.
Michigan gets healthy, they will. They definitely are as big of a threat as anybody.
That's the only thing that probably I would take Michigan to win the whole national title. The only problem with Michigan is they're not healthy.
Yeah.
And with a rookie coach, and you say whatever you want, he's a rookie coach. I think when the going gets tough, he needs to learn how to get his team out of the big game. And I don't know if he can do that yet. So we have to see if he can. And if he does that, I would trust him next year. And Michigan's going to be a dangerous team next year.
Yeah, that's why I think most of the time you're going to see a lot of the talent take over at certain points. But I think eventually the coaching will still end up taking over. That's why I have a lot of experienced coaches still mattering to an extent. Carl says Michigan won't have Livers rest of the year. I don't think they verified that. I think they just said out indefinitely. I think he'll miss the first 2 games for sure. Because of the gap in time. Remember, it's going to be a little longer this year because they're not playing the first round until Friday, and then even the next round, the Sweet 16, until Friday. So I don't know if they verified he's going to be out for the year. I think he's still going to try to make it back for the Sweet 16. The question is, that LSU team is very good. I think they're the 3rd or 4th best offense in the nation. So if they're without Livers, especially against that backcourt, that could be hard. If they survive that, I think they'll be very, very good, Carl.
It's going to be a very, very, very interesting March Madness, which starts on Thursday, right?
On Friday.
On Friday.
The play-in games are tomorrow. The two 11.
Well, it starts on Thursday.
Yeah, the
If
2
you really
11
look at it, it
seeds.
starts on Thursday.
So we mentioned Michigan State and UCLA will play. Drake, who I really do like, plays. Who's their playing game? Oh, here we go. Wichita State, who I'm not crazy about. I think USC would be Wichita
A lot of people,
State.
aka Mike Francesa, loves Wichita State.
Not this year. They're normally pesky, but I don't really see it this year, especially with a new coach as well, like we mentioned with Michigan and a couple of other teams. And then the 2 16 seeds. I don't think any of those 16 seeds will win. Like I said, I think the one playing Baylor is the one to watch out for the most. And even if Baylor does survive that, it's tough. North Carolina's hot, Wisconsin's pesky. So that is interesting. We will disagree on that forever, I guess.
Yes.
With you having Baylor as the national champion.
Yes, I do.
We agree on 2 Final Four teams, Alabama and West Virginia.
Yes. Unfortunately, my team is going to win the whole thing. I think Baylor's going to win the whole thing. I really did. Throughout the season, they've looked like one of the best teams in the nation. The only time, the last couple of weeks, they haven't looked good. And I think that has a lot to do with pressure and all that other stuff. Hopefully,
Rust too, because they were out for 2 weeks.
Hopefully, this team figures things out because they're as dangerous as any team. They can shoot the 3. Very good rebounding team. Very good defensive team. All around, very, very dangerous team in the tournament. Iowa's very good too.
Iowa's very good. Scott Drew does come from that Syracuse system, so they use a lot of the same zone concepts too. So it'll be interesting if they can keep that defense going. What usually has held them back over the years is a lack of offense and just taking bad shots, and that's why they've been a bad tournament team. Kind of like we see with Tennessee as well, Texas, certain teams like that have had a lot of trouble. But certain teams overcame that in last tournament. Obviously, Virginia winning it all. Auburn, who was notoriously bad. Bruce Pearl, notoriously bad tournament coach. So maybe in this kind of weird year, it does happen.
I would like to argue it's Gonzaga versus Baylor, but I'm going to go with Iowa because everybody is picking Baylor versus Gonzaga. I just don't think 2 number 1 teams are going to make it.
I think Gonzaga, the pressure's going to get to them eventually at some point. And they did get, I don't know if they necessarily got badly exposed, but they still get exposed a little bit in their conference tournament the last 2
I don't
games.
trust Gonzaga anyways.
I think they will either lose in the Sweet 16 against Virginia, which pains me to admit, or they'll lose in the Elite 8, which we both had, just with the pressure of them finally going to the Final Four. Even though they have 3 of the top 15 players in the nation, that's still going to be very hard to overcome that kind of pressure in a media-driven society. If 2015 Kentucky couldn't do it with that Karl Anthony Towns team, it's going to be very hard for everybody.
It's so interesting when you look at the bracket and you can argue and compare and contrast. I know a lot of people that play so many different brackets and they pick so many different teams because there are about 6 or 7 teams that can win the national title. There really is. I mean, there could be 2 or 3 upsets in this tournament that'll really stand out. I mean, for instance, North Texas can knock off Purdue. A lot of people, I've seen some brackets that people have taken North Texas.
I wish Liberty was over there because then I could confidently pick that because Oklahoma State's still a good team. Purdue's kind of like Florida State. They're going to be pesky. They could win a couple rounds, but I don't see them going much further than that.
Also, a lot of people over the years have, especially this year, UConn, I think, was ranked very high. I don't like UConn this year. That's why I have Maryland. And I wouldn't be surprised if Maryland knocks off Alabama. I think Maryland is a very dangerous team, too. But I like Alabama. They've played very, very well this year. I think they're going to get themselves deep into the tournament. I just think they're going to get knocked off in the Sweet 16. So
No, you had him. You had him knocked off to Iowa.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know you like cutting me off. Could I speak for 1 second? When I'm looking at my bracket, I have them against Michigan in the Final Four. Okay, and no, actually, it's not in the Final Four. In the Elite Eight. Right?
You have them against Iowa in the Final Four, and then you have Iowa winning in that case. Which probably
I hate this bracket how it's set up. This bracket is terrible. It doesn't really show you how everything is set up. But anyways, I got Iowa versus Baylor. I got Baylor winning the national title. It doesn't matter how it happens. I think Baylor will win the national title. That's all you have to know.
So they overcome their normal jitters like Virginia had. So
yes,
and
I got
that kind of
Baylor.
redemption type thing. And honestly, they're a very similar type team to what Virginia is. So.
No matter what, I had Baylor winning the whole thing this year, and I still have them winning the whole thing. And I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game no matter who they play in the national championship.
So very interesting.
There you go. That is it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. I will say this. It has been very, very hard doing a show with this pad, stitches on my neck. I'm trying to keep my neck straight while I'm doing the show. It's very, very hard, but I'm happy to do the show for all the fans and entertain you guys. I really appreciate you guys tuning into all our shows. We have a great network as we move forward. We have sensational new shows coming to the network. Hockey shows. We have 2 new hockey shows possibly coming to the network. I got a football show maybe coming to the network. So I'm working on some new things, some new sponsors, so many different things. Again, I'd like to thank all the fans that tune into our show every single week on Mondays and Wednesdays and throughout our network, our great quality shows throughout our network. So thank you. We will be back next week on Monday and Wednesday doing Down to the Wire and Below the Mic, our new show, which will begin in April called the Sports Loudmouths. That will probably be airing sometime in the first week of April with me, Joshua Silverberg, and Speedy Petey doing our show. There will not be any more Down to the Wire and Below the Mic. So definitely stay tuned for that. You guys are going to laugh. It's going to be very, very funny. A lot of arguing and a lot of disgruntled fans, that's for sure. Josh and me do the Weekend Crunch. You can hear our Weekend Crunch. I will be back on the Weekend Crunch on Saturday, so stay tuned for that. Definitely going to be a great show. You're going to hear a lot of our arguments to the bracket and our thoughts because March Madness will obviously be starting, and I'm sure Josh and me will have our own opinions towards everything that's going on in hockey, basketball, baseball, and football. And baseball season's about to start next week. So it's going to be a very, very fun time with March Madness, baseball, the NBA playoffs right around the corner, the NHL playoffs right around the corner, and then obviously the draft and the NFL free agency. So stay tuned for us every single week in all our shows from obviously to the Weapons Hot Show, to the B Show, to the Hit List, all the shows, all the great shows that we have. Smoke and Mirrors, great shows. What does that say?
Carl says, my wife had a shot in her neck today, so she feels your pain. So shout out to your wife, Carl, wishing her all the best in her recovery as well.
Absolutely. I don't wish this upon anybody. To keep my neck straight for a whole show and not move my neck and torque my neck. I torqued my neck twice. I had a disc replacement. I'm telling you guys, I don't wish this upon anybody. Okay. This is a terrible feeling, and just to even take painkillers or even take anything to try to take away the pain. It's horrendous. It's terrible. What do Carl say? NCAA hockey?
NCAA hockey.
Yeah,
college hockey,
Four.
College hockey tournaments as well. Yes. And shout out to my brother's school, Northeastern. They have the #1 women's hockey team in the country right now.
Yes. Again, listen to the Weekend Crunch on the LI News Radio app, or you can go to
TuneIn Radio,
iHeartRadio, 7 p.m. on Saturday. Is there an Islander game at 7 p.m.?
I believe so. I think I checked the last 3 weeks.
We will be live after the Islander game. If the Islander game starts at 7, we will be live after the game between 10:15 and 10:30. Tune into the show. Go to LI News Radio. Go to iHeartRadio to find the LI News Radio. We have a great show, guys. You're going to laugh your ass off. It is hilarious. I am. Carl, thank you. Thank you for tuning into the show. And I am staying strong. I am going to stay as strong as possible. I'm moving forward, and I go see the doctor tomorrow. I'm actually going to see the doctor quicker than most people because I've been dealing with a lot of pains down my arm, and my finger actually numbed yesterday. So hold him up, Smitty. I don't think he needs to hold me up.
No, my necklaces are doing a good job of that.
Oh, that's for sure. again, we will be back on Monday and Wednesday. Until then, this is Errol Marks and the great tidy whitey man himself, Speedy Petey, saying good night. We'll talk to you then. Good night, everybody.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors, LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC, annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network, LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.